They wasn't playing football and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is, and you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them. But they were so close that they had matching white girls together.
If you're anything like me, and you just finished watching 50 Cent's Diddy documentary on Netflix, something probably felt off right away. One name was completely missing, and not just missing, but erased. Jay-Z wasn't there at all. No photos, no mentions, no quick flashes, nothing. And that wasn't some small oversight. Here's where it gets interesting. Netflix allegedly cut an entire segment from episode 4, a section insiders were calling the Jay-Z tapes.
How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing to see what's right there.
Here we go. Here's a fun little fact. I actually have verifiable knowledge of all 15 of Mr. Carter's illegitimate children that he hides from the world.
50 Cent reportedly pushed hard to keep it in, arguing with producers behind the scenes because he wanted that footage included. At the very last moment, the segment was pulled completely. Now, I know what you're thinking. How would some YouTuber know what Netflix removed from a documentary? That's fair. But this didn't come out of nowhere. I've been tracking blind items connected to this documentary for months, long before it aired. I even talked about a serious clash where 50 Cent wanted more control over the final edit. People brushed it off back then and said it was made up. Then Gene Deal came out in recent interviews and confirmed the tension was real. So this isn't random speculation. And it gets even louder when you look at 50 Cent's own moves. Just days ago, he posted on Instagram saying he has the footage and added LOL. When 50 moves like that, it usually means he's sitting on something real and calculated. Netflix didn't say the footage didn't exist, they just chose not to show it. And here's the part that really stands out. Almost everyone else caught attention in that documentary. J-Lo was mentioned. Biggie's story was discussed. Cassie was front and center.
We finally gonna have a real conversation about whether or not Rihanna was trafficked to Def Jam.
She was the innocent baby when she came over here. And look
She
at
was
her now.
14 going on 15 years old, flown over without parental supervision in a private plane by a man who was supposed to be a producer who auditioned her at 3 a.m. in the fucking morning in a hotel room, auditioning at 3 a.m. in the morning, a 14-year-old girl.
With no parental consent.
With
She
no
just
parental, nobody. She was flown. She was flown to another country. She was taken to Def Jam headquarters. She was left in a conference room alone with Sean Carter for nearly 6 hours alone.
But Jay-Z was completely absent, like he was never part of the story at all. That wasn't an accident at all. That was damage control. When someone that powerful gets a clean pass while everyone around them is being exposed, it forces a real question about what is being protected and why. Silence at that level usually means something matters a lot more than people want to admit. Before we get into what was cut, there's something important you need to understand. And don't worry, I'm not about to drag this into old history or side stories.
Last question. I asked you to do this earlier, but I just want you to do it even more, go detailed. What do you predict will happen next in the future? You know, it's like you see it before it happens.
Kathy White's true killer is going to be unveiled, and it's not a man. And that woman died screaming.
Anything else?
Yeah, show him the tape, Diddy. You got it.
Oh, man,
That might buy you a little time. You should probably stop looking for plastic surgeons.
man.
Looking for a new life, Jay-Z too, Beyonce too, and we're gonna round up all the See, I love a good gay man. I just can't stand him. And that's what it is.
Would that be?
You want to know what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
I'm about to up a mirror.
I'm sticking strictly to what you clicked for. Jay-Z and Diddy were not just business partners who crossed paths at industry events. They were close, genuinely close, and not just in a music sense. This went deeper than collaborations or public appearances. That's where Gene Deal comes in. Diddy's former bodyguard has been speaking openly lately, and he directly challenged the claims made by Jay-Z's legal team. When Diddy started facing serious accusations, Jay-Z's lawyers put out a statement suggesting they were never really friends. Gene shut that down immediately and made it clear that narrative didn't match reality. Gene explained that these two weren't casually hanging out or playing sports together. So it raised eyebrows when Diddy went on stage in Atlanta and patted Jay-Z on his backside.
These cats was doing a whole lot of stuff that people in the industry won't speak on. And then now that you're speaking on it and it's becoming where is that you can get on YouTube and you could talk about this and say what you seen or say what you heard, you understand, or what you know. Some people look at it being a problem, but these cats ain't street cats.
He also reminded people that Diddy publicly said nobody could call him Sean except Jay-Z. That's not random behavior between distant associates. Jay-Z reportedly returned that same level of familiarity. Gene even mentioned how they joked about dating similar types of women, using language and inside references that only come from real comfort. That's not surface-level conversation. That kind of closeness usually means shared experiences and shared secrets, which helps explain why Jay-Z has stayed quiet and distant while everything else unfolds. And this is where things start lining up even more when you remember Jaguar Wright going on Piers Morgan Uncensored and speaking openly about both Jay-Z and Diddy. Suddenly, those comments don't feel so random anymore. That segment didn't just get cut, it vanished almost instantly, and that alone raised eyebrows. 1 minute it was circulating, the next it was gone, wiped clean, like it never aired at all. During that moment, Jaguar Wright was explaining why people in the industry stay quiet and why speaking up comes with real consequences. Then she started naming names. Shortly after that, the entire clip disappeared from public view. When someone has the reach to erase conversations from major platforms, it usually means something sensitive is being guarded very carefully. That brings us to what 50 Cent allegedly wanted included in episode 4 of the Netflix series.
It's a 50-foot bed under the moonlight in his backyard, and he be like, I'm not going nowhere today. I'm staying in the bed all fucking day. I got to be under the bed, chasing the bed.
According to multiple claims, the most controversial section focused on accusations surrounding Jay-Z and aspects of his private life that have never been publicly addressed. These were presented as allegations, not proven facts, and that distinction matters. Jaguar claims she had long-standing knowledge of situations involving children she says exist outside the public narrative. She framed this as information she believed was backed by agreements and legal settlements designed to keep personal matters private. These statements remain allegations and have not been confirmed by courts or public records. The argument was that 50 Cent wanted to show documents, contracts, and testimony from adults who claimed they were pressured into silence. Netflix reportedly declined to air that material due to legal risk and potential fallout. From a corporate standpoint, that decision makes sense. Still, the bigger question lingers. When stories like this surface and then immediately disappear, people naturally start wondering why. If everything is clean and straightforward, there's usually no need for aggressive silence. That's the part that keeps this conversation alive, even without the footage ever seeing the light of day. These were the questions 50 Cent wanted viewers thinking about, but Netflix made sure that moment never happened. And this next section is uncomfortable by design, because if even part of what was alleged is accurate, it raises serious ethical concerns. That's exactly why 50 reportedly had multiple sources prepared to speak on camera. Once again, none of it made the final cut. Here's what was said to be planned for episode 4, presented as allegations and disputed claims, not proven facts. Before anyone brushes this off, the timeline itself is what people point to, including details that Rihanna has spoken about publicly in interviews. At the time, she was living in Barbados and was 16 years old. A producer named Evan Rogers connected with her and said he wanted to help develop her career. Shortly after, she traveled to the United States on a private flight. According to public accounts, she arrived without her parents present and went straight to New York. She later auditioned for Jay-Z, not in a studio or office setting, but at a hotel during late-night hours. Critics point to that context as unusual, especially given her age at the time. Commentary from Jaguar Wright claims there were financial arrangements and paperwork decisions made behind the scenes. These statements are allegations and have not been established as fact. They are strongly denied by those involved. Rihanna has said in interviews that she remained at Def Jam headquarters late into the night and did not leave until the contract was signed. Supporters say this reflects intense industry pressure, while critics see it as an example of how young talent can be placed in vulnerable positions. This is why that segment reportedly never aired. Once these timelines are laid out, people start asking questions that networks may not want to host, even when the stories remain disputed. Let's go back to something Rihanna actually said herself in an older interview. She was asked what the biggest change was after moving to America, and her answer was simple but heavy. She talked about being away from her friends and family, about growing up surrounded by her mom and people she knew for 17 years, then suddenly moving to a massive city with no one around her. She said all her family and friends were still in Barbados, and that living in a big city around strangers was the hardest thing she had to deal with. That word matters, strangers. She described herself as a teenager, surrounded by people she didn't know. That raises real questions about who was responsible for protecting her during that transition, and why there were no familiar faces around her to advocate for her well-being. Now here's another detail that people point to as confusing. Right before Jay-Z officially signed Rihanna, he was heavily involved with developing another young artist, Tierra Mari, who was also 16 at the time. Tierra had been signed to Def Jam by L.A. Reid. She was young, talented, and receiving strong industry support. Then Rihanna entered the picture, and shortly after, Tierra Mari was dropped from the label. Her momentum stopped, while Rihanna's career took off rapidly. Some online discussions connect Tierra Mari to later legal claims as a Jane Doe in a lawsuit involving alleged misconduct during her teenage years. These claims are allegations and have not been ruled on publicly, but they add to the broader conversation people keep circling back to. When you line these stories up, critics say a pattern appears involving young artists, powerful executives, and careers shaped behind closed doors. There's also something fans have questioned for years. Rihanna and Beyoncé have never collaborated publicly. Same label history, same level of fame, yet no song and barely any shared appearances. Some believe industry politics explain it, while others connect it to long-running rumors that have never been confirmed. People also revisit Rihanna's 2016 album, Anti. The cover shows a childlike figure with a crown covering her eyes, often interpreted as symbolism about innocence, power, and not being allowed to see what's happening around you. Whether intentional or not, it's an image that continues to fuel discussion years later. Jaguar Wright has described this era as a quiet cry for help. She points to the symbolism behind Anti, explaining that the title itself means opposition, as if Rihanna was pushing back against everything she experienced but no one was really listening. According to that view, the world was too busy enjoying the music to notice the darker message underneath. This was all material that 50 Cent allegedly wanted included in episode 4. He reportedly had interviews lined up with people who worked at Def Jam and documents meant to establish timelines. None of it aired. The explanation given was that it was too controversial, too risky, and legally sensitive. Another major section was supposed to focus on Aaliyah. Her story has long been surrounded by discomfort and unanswered questions. It's widely known that R. Kelly was involved with her when she was underage, and that situation only came to light after her parents intervened. What often goes unspoken, according to industry insiders, is that many people in music circles were aware of concerns surrounding him and chose to keep their distance. Dame Dash, who was Jay-Z's business partner at the time, has said publicly that he wanted no association with R. Kelly. Despite that, Jay-Z went on to create full collaborative albums with him. Not a feature or a one-off track, but complete projects, even as concerns about Kelly's behavior were widely discussed behind the scenes. Some claims suggest Jay-Z showed interest in Aaliyah during her teenage years, though there is no verified proof of this, and these claims remain allegations. What is publicly known is that Dame Dash later dated Aaliyah when she was an adult. That timeline has led people to question Jay-Z's closeness to R. Kelly during earlier years, and why that association never seemed to be an issue. Jaguar Wright has continued to make serious claims tied to this period. She says she was forced to sign strict non-disclosure agreements to remain silent about what she witnessed in the industry. She has also alleged that her personal life was tightly managed for appearances, including claims that financial arrangements were made to control public narratives. According to her, learning more about what happened to Aaliyah was the moment she decided she could no longer stay quiet. And these allegations have not been proven in court, but they are part of the broader context that 50 Cent reportedly wanted audiences to examine before the segment was removed. I'm not claiming to know exactly what Jaguar Wright means when she talks about what really happened to Aaliyah. What we do know is that Aaliyah died in a plane crash in 2001. And ever since then, there have been endless theories surrounding it. Some people believe it was a tragic accident. Others believe there was more to it. None of those theories have ever been proven. What is documented, though, is that Aaliyah was trying to distance herself from certain people in the industry. She was growing up, gaining control over her career, and no longer moving how others expected her to. She was making her own choices. Then suddenly she was gone. That shift in her life is what keeps people talking to this day. According to reports, 50 Cent wanted to explore these connections in episode 4, not to accuse anyone of homicide, because there is no evidence to support that, but to show patterns. The pattern being how young women in the industry were often controlled, silenced, and boxed in, and what seemed to happen when they tried to step outside those boundaries. Netflix reportedly shut that entire angle down due to legal exposure and pressure from powerful figures. Here's the part that should make anyone uncomfortable. There are people in entertainment who can sit on major television platforms, be interviewed by top journalists, and never face serious follow-up questions. And when someone finally does ask those questions, the footage has a habit of disappearing. That's exactly what people point to with Jaguar Wright's appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored. She named names including Jay-Z, Diddy, and Beyonce. She talked about trafficking allegations, industry silence, and a woman named Kathy White. The interview aired, clips started spreading, and then portions of it vanished from official platforms. Kathy White is a name many people don't recognize, and that's part of the point. She was allegedly involved with Jay-Z and was rumored to be pregnant. In 2011, she died, with the cause listed as a brain aneurysm. No wrongdoing was ever proven. Still, people question how quickly her story disappeared from public discussion. An aneurysm leaves no trail, no answers, and no accountability. And that's why her name keeps coming up in these conversations, even years later, despite there being no confirmed evidence beyond speculation and unanswered questions. Years later, there's no real way to investigate any of this, and that's exactly why people say it works as the perfect cover. Jaguar Wright has made explosive claims about Kathy White, and the implications are serious if her version is even partially accurate. The idea being pushed is that if Diddy allegedly had damaging information connected to someone close to Jay-Z, that would create leverage that never really disappears. In that scenario, Jay-Z could never fully distance himself, even when things started collapsing publicly around Diddy. That's the theory being discussed, not a proven fact. And according to those same claims, Kathy White wouldn't be the only name tied to unexplained situations. People online often point to a longer list of individuals connected to Jay-Z and Beyonce, whose careers stalled suddenly or whose stories ended quietly. One name that comes up often is Kimberly Thompson. She was Beyonce's drummer and later filed for a restraining order, making claims that shocked the public. Her allegations involved manipulation and psychological harm, claims that were never proven in court and were widely disputed. What stands out to many observers, though, is her background. She studied at Berklee College of Music and was personally selected by Terry Lyne Carrington to be part of Beyonce's all-female band. This wasn't someone without credentials or industry standing. After filing those legal claims, Kimberly Thompson reportedly struggled to find work in the industry. Supporters say she was blacklisted. Critics say her claims damaged her credibility. Either way, her career never recovered, and that fuels the conversation about how power operates behind the scenes. That same idea carries over to Orlando Brown. He's often dismissed publicly as unreliable. But some argue that writing him off completely avoids engaging with what he's actually saying. Orlando has spoken about industry parties linked to Diddy and described scenes that made people uncomfortable. He referenced late-night gatherings, powerful figures, and situations he claims he witnessed firsthand. These statements remain allegations and have not been substantiated. All of this, according to insiders, was meant to be part of episode 4. 50 Cent reportedly planned to connect the dots, showing how Jay-Z and Diddy moved in the same circles and shared more than just business ties. Netflix declined to air it, likely due to legal exposure and the sheer number of powerful people involved. And this is where Gene Deal comes back into the picture, because in a recent interview, he made a statement that pulls all of this into sharper focus, and you can hear it directly from him. Gene Deal explained that a lot of behavior in the entertainment industry was kept quiet for years because people didn't have platforms or protection. According to him, that's changed now. With spaces like YouTube, people can finally talk about what they saw and heard. He made a point to clarify something important. These aren't street figures living by any code. These are entertainers. He said many of them just play roles and hide behind image and money. The claim he made next is the part that scares people. When someone speaks up against Jay-Z, their career allegedly stalls or disappears altogether. People point to moments in the industry that feel off. One example often mentioned is when Killer Mike won multiple Grammys in one night. On paper, that should have been a career peak. Instead, his night ended with an arrest over what was described as a minor issue involving security. There is no public proof connecting Jay-Z to that incident, but industry whispers spread fast. Some claimed a call was made. Others said it was coincidence. What keeps it alive is the timing and how quickly the moment shifted from celebration to embarrassment. Killer Mike had also been vocal about industry issues, which made people connect dots, fairly or not. That brings the focus back to Netflix and episode 4. Why remove an entire segment that 50 Cent reportedly fought to keep in? From a corporate perspective, the answer many land on is risk. Jay-Z isn't just an artist. He's a powerful businessman with deep connections across entertainment, media, and politics. If executives believe the segment opened the door to legal action, injunctions, or pressure from multiple powerful parties, cutting it would be the safest move. Airing disputed claims about someone with that level of influence could trigger lawsuits and behind-the-scenes consequences that no streaming platform wants to deal with. That's why the Jay-Z tapes never made it to air, not because they didn't exist, but because the cost of showing them may have been too high. In the end, Netflix clearly decided it wasn't worth the risk. A safe documentary that tells only part of the story is easier to defend than a complete one that could drag them into years of legal battles. And everyone understands who that decision centers around. Jay-Z still carries enough influence that most companies would rather step back than challenge him directly. So now the conversation gets handed to you. Do you think Netflix was pressured by legal teams to remove that segment? Do you believe the allegations and timelines involving Rihanna, Aaliyah, and Kathy White? Or do you think all of this is speculation fueled by grudges and old industry beefs? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let your voice be heard. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who should be part of this discussion. I'll see you in the next one.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
Cat Williams just confirmed what a lot of people have been whispering about for months. 7 major names were quietly removed from the Netflix Diddy documentary, and these were not random cuts. We are talking about some of the biggest celebrities in the entertainment industry. Cat called this way ahead of time, and now the pieces are finally starting to line up. So let's break it down. This is exactly why you clicked on this video. Cat Williams has officially stepped into the chaos surrounding the Netflix Diddy documentary, and he is not sugarcoating anything.
He did in 4 years. Say that again. But they just want to send this 4 years. Meanwhile, they tried to give me 4 years for 2 blunts I had no intention of smoking in the first place. Same 4 years. I don't give a fuck. Being an ass-picking devil worshiper is not against the law. They put that man on a whole RICO because they thought he was for China. They said, bring out the 9 niggas walked out. That ain't even get the law. Go on and get you something. That man liked this so much as his punishment. They sent him to the place with the most. So I ain't gonna say shit.
He is calling out 50 Cent directly, accusing him of protecting certain people while leaving the real power players out of the final version. Remember when Cat went on Club Shay Shay and said, all lies will be exposed? That comment hits different now. He was clearly talking about this exact situation, and looking back, he was spot on. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 names that were completely scrubbed from the documentary, straight removed. We'll also get into why these people were protected
Thank you. Come here. Don't sit on the bed at night. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close. But it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No, I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. You know, shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. I should look like he fresh off a goddamn plane. I should.
Fresh off the guard stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, that's how. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the.
How Cat predicted all of this before most people even caught on, and how deep their ties to Diddy really go. And here's where it gets even crazier. There are allegations that people tried to bribe 50 Cent to remove certain controversial names from the documentary. But Cat already knew those names were never going to see the light of day. Whether it's hidden tapes or a cleaned-up Netflix edit, some people remain untouchable. Now, before we even go further, let me be clear. We are not touching the most obvious names like Jay-Z or Beyonce.
Frosted Flakes, you know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented, you know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world.
Yo, what the f did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was fucking stupid.
Listen, having a good time, yo. Oh, your usher made it in the. Hey, yo.
I'm a thug. At the end of the day, I kill niggas, man. No, listen, at the end of
Those conversations have already been beaten into the ground, and people already know the rumors tied to them. This story starts back in 2024 when Cat Williams sat down on Club Shay Shay and dropped what sounded like a wild prediction at the time. Cat straight up said Diddy liked to party and that sometimes you have to tell him no. He warned that 2024 would be the year where lies get exposed. Fast forward to now and look where things stand. Cat didn't just name Diddy. He also called out TD Jakes and several others, making it clear that anyone uncomfortable with the truth.
Everybody knew that Snoop Dogg, not again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of trafficking children. And what did everybody do? Ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime. But we canceled Dr. Seuss and Jemima. And nobody mad. Nobody. Super Bowl happened. They were dripping down from the letters, the LVI. I know, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's go to the game. Make some hot wings. It's fine. It'll pass. It'll pass, right? It's a phase. It's just a phase. But oh no! Tell somebody that plastic straws are coming back and throw a fit. Let a convict get arrested. Somebody put a knee on a convict's neck and it's over. Neck of it. Crickets. Crickets. Nothing. Everything's fine.
Usually knows exactly why. That wasn't noise. That was a warning shot. Fast forward again. 50 Cent stepped in as the producer of a Netflix documentary titled Diddy, The Reckoning. The project included footage that had never been seen before, showing Diddy behind closed doors, meeting with lawyers, discussing strategy, and facing some heavy allegations that raised eyebrows fast. Diddy's legal team pushed back hard. They sent cease and desist letters to Netflix, claiming the footage was unauthorized and calling the project a hit piece.
Item in. Hey, don't do it. Okay? We all saw the movie Sinners. Don't let his here. So he can bite somebody. So he can bite Playboy Cardi again. Okay? Playboy Cardi definitely been bit. Something happened. Playboy Cardi's been bit. I know he has. Nobody let Kanye in. No! Tonight I will do my part. Everybody will get flowers. I'll do my part to make sure that I put us on a high pedestal, man. Also, I'm gonna do my part. I'm shutting down the idea of after parties. No after parties tonight, okay? None. Take your home after this. That's why I did it on a Monday.
Netflix didn't fold, and the documentary still dropped. Here's why this moment matters. Diddy was ultimately sentenced on prostitution-related charges, after more serious accusations were not upheld in court. But this situation is far from wrapped up. There are reports of dozens of civil lawsuits still pending, and some filings reference vulnerable individuals. which has triggered increased federal attention. Prosecutors have openly stated the investigation remains active, and sources say information is now being shared across multiple high-profile cases, including ones tied to Tupac. That alone should tell you how deep this situation really runs.
I did it on a Monday. People got to go to work tomorrow. No after parties. That's where it's slippery at them after parties. Okay? We're learning a lot about people, ain't we? We're learning a lot. God is good all the time. Kurt, that makes it right. Whatever I just said goes away. Funny.
People are now claiming they have tapes connected to Diddy that are ready to surface. And according to those claims, other celebrities appear in footage they would never want made public. And when it comes to Cat, he recently cracked a joke that felt way too close to the truth to ignore. Now I know that sounds crazy, but this wasn't just comedy. This was Cat quietly confirming what he's been saying for years. He knows what happened, he knows who was involved, and he knows exactly who ended up protected when everything started coming apart. So let's talk about those 7 names. First up is Snoop Dogg. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Snoop, really? But the connection runs deep. Snoop and Diddy go back decades. Same circles, same parties, business ties, music collaborations, all of it. They moved in the same spaces for years. So the real question is, why Snoop didn't appear in the documentary at all? That question got louder after claims made by Ali Carter, who publicly criticized Snoop and said his influence runs even deeper than Diddy's. She made those claims years ago and was immediately attacked online, dismissed, and told to stay quiet. But she didn't back down and kept repeating the same message. Here's where this needs to be handled carefully. Carter alleged that Snoop was connected to serious misconduct involving vulnerable individuals. These claims have never been proven in court, and no formal charges were brought forward. Still, people expected investigations or public scrutiny to follow. Instead, nothing happened. No major fallout. No pause in his career. Not long after, Snoop appeared at the Super Bowl halftime show, one of the biggest stages in the country. That contrast made people uncomfortable. Other public figures have been removed from platforms over far less, but Snoop remained untouched. Carter even pointed out symbolism she believed was hidden in that performance, while the audience stayed focused on the game and the spectacle. So why would 50 Cent leave Snoop out of the documentary? Because Snoop is deeply connected, heavily insulated, and extremely protected. Touching that name could have stopped the entire project from ever being released. In hip-hop, there are levels of access and protection, and Snoop sits high on that list. Next up is Kevin Hart, and his situation gets interesting fast, because while he has spoken about Diddy, he's done it in a very measured, very careful way. Kevin Hart wasn't just on the outside looking in. He was around during Sean Combs' infamous party camps back in the day. If you know, you know. Those events had a reputation, and Kevin was deep in the inner circle during that time. There's even old viral footage floating around that people point to, claiming Kevin seemed fully aware of what was going on behind the scenes. But things get way more interesting when you look at the present. Kevin recently hosted the BET Awards, and some of the jokes he made about Diddy hit harder than people expected. He cracked a line about after parties, saying that's where things get slippery. Then he added, "We learning a lot about people, ain't we?" Followed by, "God is good all the time." On the surface, it sounded like standard Kevin humor, but the timing and wording raised eyebrows. Kevin went a step further. He made it clear there would be no after parties that night, and even scheduled the show on a Monday so people had work the next day. That wasn't accidental. That felt intentional, like someone drawing a boundary without saying too much out loud. Then there's Orlando Brown. Orlando has said plenty of wild things over the years, so his claims need to be viewed carefully. Still, he alleged that Kevin made serious personal compromises early in his career in exchange for industry protection. No evidence has ever backed this up, but the claim added fuel to the conversation. What can be said without crossing lines is this. Kevin has seen the industry up close. He's been around long enough to know where the dark corners are. And at this point, his level of success makes him someone the industry wants to keep clean and untouched. Leaving him out of the documentary wasn't random. 50 Cent cutting Kevin protects more than one person. It protects the comedy world as a whole. And that's a can nobody wants opened. Now let's talk about Mahe. This one frustrates a lot of people. Mahe was right next to Diddy during the Bad Boy Records era. He saw everything, the parties, the deals, the pressure, all of it. If anyone knows the full story, it's him. But Mahe has stayed quiet, almost too quiet. It took him a decade to get out of his contract. And even after finally gaining his freedom, he rarely speaks negatively about Diddy. There's an old interview where Diddy brought him to a radio station and publicly said Mahe was free to do whatever he wanted. Mahe's reaction looked tense, overly grateful, and uncomfortable, like someone who had just been reminded how much power still existed in that room. That moment showed something important. Control was still there. Mahe literally said it took him 10 years to finally get his paperwork right. He looked genuinely shocked that Diddy gave his publishing back. He even joked that he used to puff doing good stuff. Sit with that for a second. A man who worked closely with Diddy for decades was surprised when Diddy did one positive thing. That alone says a lot. So why did 50 Cent leave Mahe out of the documentary? Because Mahe's silence raises uncomfortable questions. Either he's afraid to speak, or there's still some level of influence hovering over him. He knows too much and says too little. Including him would have forced people to ask why he stays quiet and what might still be holding him back. Leaving him out was the safer move. Now we have to talk about Meek Mill, and this is where things get complicated. Meek has been around Diddy and other industry power figures for years. Rumors have followed him for a long time, but nothing solid ever stuck, at least not publicly. Then Orlando Brown entered the conversation again. Orlando made a crude comment that got people talking online. It sounded wild, but he's been known to call out names long before anyone else does. Sometimes he's dismissed. Sometimes people circle back later and realize he wasn't completely off. Things escalated when an audio clip allegedly involving Meek Mill surfaced online. Some listeners claimed the second voice sounded like Diddy. That claim was never verified. Still, the clip spread fast before being removed just as quickly. Jaguar Wright, who has spoken openly about industry issues for years, said she believed the voice belonged to Diddy. The clip itself was explicit and damaging, but again, it was never officially confirmed. That matters. Including something like that in a documentary would have opened the door to serious legal consequences. Meek is still active, still powerful, and still protected by the industry. That's why Meek didn't make the final cut. From a legal and strategic standpoint, touching unverified material like that would have been risky. Sometimes leaving a name out isn't about innocence or guilt. It's about avoiding a fight that could shut everything down. He had the lawyers. He had the money. If his name had been included, he could have dragged Netflix into years of lawsuits. That's why 50 Cent made a straight business decision. It was safer to avoid a legal battle than to include material that couldn't be proven beyond doubt. Now we get to Justin Bieber, and this one is very different, because Justin is not being framed as a perpetrator here. He is widely viewed as a victim. When Justin was very young, he spent time around Diddy, and there are old public clips where Diddy openly talked about having control over Justin's schedule for short periods. In those same clips, Justin visibly looked uncomfortable, which has made people revisit those moments with a new perspective. So why wasn't Justin included in the documentary? Because 50 chose to protect him. Recently, paparazzi asked Justin directly about the documentary, and his response was painful to hear. He told them not to ask him about that man ever again, saying there are things he moved on from for his own peace. He said people are finally waking up, but he was a kid and didn't understand what was happening, and he never wants to revisit that part of his life. That pain was real. Justin was a child at the time. He didn't have power, context, or choice. Including him would have meant reopening trauma tied to someone who was underage, and that crosses a line. Even for a platform like Netflix, that would have been too heavy. Justin is focused on healing, building his life, and staying private. He's married now and has a family. Dragging his past back into the spotlight would only benefit viewers, not him. Leaving Justin out was the most human decision 50 could have made. Next is Usher, and his story is complicated. Usher lived with Diddy as a teenager during what was known as Puff's early development camp. This was long before Justin. Usher was the first young star to go through that environment. He has publicly said he witnessed things that stayed with him and hinted at experiences that changed how he saw the industry. Years later, Usher played a role in connecting Justin to Diddy, a decision that now raises uncomfortable questions given everything that has come out since. He probably regrets it every single day. So why did 50 Cent remove Usher from the documentary? For the same reason Justin was left out. Usher is viewed as a victim, not a perpetrator. Cat Williams warned people years ago about what happens to young stars behind the scenes. He said talented kids get pulled in and put through situations that break them mentally and emotionally. According to people close to the production, Usher was the first. He was the test case. Everything that came later allegedly started with him. The segment focused on Usher was described as too dark for television, even for a documentary centered on Diddy's alleged crimes. Whatever Usher experienced was considered too disturbing to include without causing serious harm. Usher has spent decades rebuilding, protecting his legacy, and keeping his career intact. He is an R&B legend with children of his own now. Dragging him back into that chapter of his life would have reopened wounds that never fully healed. Leaving him out wasn't about protecting the industry. It was about protecting a person. And now we reach the biggest name of them all, the one that matters more than any other on this list. Clive Davis. A lot of people don't know who Clive Davis is, but those who do understand his reach. He sits above Diddy in the industry hierarchy. Diddy doesn't move without Clive's approval. He doesn't make major decisions without checking in first. Clive Davis helped shape the careers of legends like Whitney Houston and Alicia Keys, and countless others. He's been in the music business for over 50 years and is connected to everyone who matters. Cat Williams said it plainly. Diddy was a worker. The real boss was Clive Davis. So why was Clive completely absent from the documentary? The answer is fear. Exposing Clive would have stopped the project before it ever aired. Netflix would not have touched it. Other platforms wouldn't have promoted it. Clive's influence runs through labels, media companies, and streaming services. Going after him would have ended the documentary before it even had a chance to exist. 50 Cent had no real choice when it came to Clive Davis. If Clive's name had stayed in the documentary, you wouldn't be watching it right now. It would have been buried, stalled, or quietly ended before release. That makes Clive the most important omission on this entire list. Everyone keeps focusing on Diddy, but Clive helped create the system that allowed Diddy to operate the way he did. Diddy didn't invent that power structure. He learned it. Taking down Diddy means very little if the architect of the system stays protected, and that is exactly what happened. So there it is. The 7 names 50 Cent removed from the Netflix Diddy documentary. Cat Williams warned people this would happen long before it did. He said all lies would be exposed in 2024, but he also knew the biggest names would never fully come to light. Some people are simply too powerful to touch. From Snoop Dogg all the way up to Clive Davis, these omissions show how deep the protection really runs. The system protects its own. It always has, and it always will. This Netflix documentary is only the opening chapter. Investigations are still active. Lawsuits continue to stack up, and more information is likely coming. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which name you think should have been included in the documentary. Do you think 50 Cent made the right call by protecting certain people? Or should everything have been exposed no matter the fallout? If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, and I'll see you in the next one.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Other stuff that you just have not shown?
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make the, it was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot, you had to pick and choose things, like even in an area where he chooses to date people who he knows previously dated someone. He has a baby by a woman that was dating Tupac.
Wow.
To add to it, but we had to cut it down so we couldn't.
For time.
Yeah.
So are you coming out? I know next year is going to be a number 2, season 2.
I just put it on YouTube.
I just put it on YouTube.
Diddy's whole run might really be cooked now. Ever since 50 Cent dropped those prison tapes and the internet went into full meltdown mode, everybody started asking the same question. What else does 50 have stashed away? And when he sat down to talk about his Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he made one thing crystal clear. What we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. 50 didn't dance around it at all. He flat out said there's more footage coming, and yeah, he's ready to let it fly.
Diddy was recording because he thought he was about to beat the case, so he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tactics. Well, there's a guy named Neil who was mentioned in the court, works right up under Diddy, was organizing everything. Allegedly, they are saying that he is on video, film, tampering with witnesses, giving out addresses, offering money, bribing, we'll pay for your lawyers, all kind of shit that could be counted as witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And 50, of all people, has his hands on this footage. And I'm hearing that this could implicate Diddy's lawyers in some bullshit. They could be charged. This shit is getting wild. And I'm hearing that this 50 Cent documentary is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
This guy in this video said one specific name, and it was Neil, and it automatically made me think of Neil Dominique. Everything that we just covered the other day that came out from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was going to be a witness testifying against Diddy in the criminal trial. You remember, she just took to her Instagram calling out Neil Dominique, saying that he was basically the one to give Diddy information that she was testifying to the grand jury. She has been claiming for a while, when she testified to this grand jury on April 2nd of 2024, just 2 weeks later, Diddy's attorney would text her saying, "Dear Chef Jordan, this is Aaron Dyer. I'm Sean Combs' attorney. I left you a voicemail last week, but wanted to follow up. I have been told you have been contacted by law enforcement and might want an attorney to represent you." So that man in this video was basically saying that 50 Cent has video footage of Diddy talking to these people and setting this up to go.
He even hinted that the next batch of Diddy tapes could hit YouTube, meaning anyone, anywhere, can see it with their own eyes. But that wasn't even the biggest shocker. One of the most damaging claims to surface after that interview was the allegation that Diddy tried to intimidate and influence a juror. That detail alone had the internet buzzing nonstop, with people scrambling to connect the dots. Then 50 took it even further. He casually revealed that he's sitting on 140 hours of footage. When fans started questioning it, he doubled down online and posted, "Yes, I have the footage, LOL," like it was nothing. That single post sent shockwaves everywhere. And it didn't stop there. 50 also explained exactly why he decided to go at Diddy like this.
It's clear. I don't have any reserve, like the fear that they would actually have towards him. I don't think he's special.
And as a
docuseries that wasn't in the previous docs that you saw, because they said, no, I'm gonna do that one because 50, that's gonna be the big one. None of that. Like I think it's just the way I was brought up. I don't really register those things. I've been through way more extreme things than these people. I look at the project, it's just another project to me, and look and create reasoning for it. It could be their personal take on why it's the way it is, but if they watch the docuseries itself, they'll understand it's been done tastefully and it is the best version of a docuseries that you'll see on this. Well, he is a big part of the culture. Like he's he made it to a respectable position within culture. Any smart person would pick their fights. And you say, I don't really get anything out of it. It's not my business anyway, so then why say something about it? Like the docuseries is me putting together people who had different experiences and letting them tell their truth, right? And a lot of things come out that make clarity for you in a different way to it. But I only was comfortable saying stuff about him because I've been saying it for 20 years. I've said it since that day. That day, I'm like, what? Nah.
According to him, this wasn't random or emotional. It was calculated, planned, and built off years of watching moves behind the scenes. What really turned heads was how many people finally agreed to speak up. Folks who avoided past documentaries suddenly felt safe stepping forward because they trusted 50 and weren't scared anymore. That alone changed the whole game. One of the wildest moments for 50 was getting footage from Diddy's final days before his arrest and indictment.
Journalists would ask that, but the journalists would also say, I'm gonna keep my sources secure, but but I got it though. They can blame it on me. That is that. I think he's gonna actually like the project. He's gonna see that it was done fair, the perspective. Because he's gonna see too many people or he'll be consumed by what his personal experience was with each individual that's saying things about him because he lived these things. She's gonna understand it. You can interview her following that and I'll do the interview with her. I'll make sure I put it together. Yeah, because I had communications with her, to understand it, what's going on. And even though she's not in the docuseries, it was important I spoke to her to understand how things transpired. The husband, I spoke to him away from her, separate individual communications, and see the things kind of match up. Like when people say things, I go, oh, okay, I hear what you said, but when you hear things multiple times from people, different people, it kind of rings true to you. He got old real fast. His hair was jet black, like mine, and the next day he was like a full. All I saw from was the raccoon pictures from the courtroom. When they drew him, it was looked like a raccoon.
He said watching that raw material for the first time was intense, shocking, and explosive. Just like that, 50 stepped back into the spotlight doing what he does best, bringing receipts, real proof, no fluff. He even joked that if you're not exposing your enemy through a full-blown documentary, then you're not beefing on his level. And while A-listers from Diddy's circle stay quiet, 50 made it clear he's been collecting this info for years. Quiet moves, perfect timing.
Bros called me up. He's like, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I say, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Offord ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all that shit. He ran the deli operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff.
Now Diddy is behind bars, arguing with lawyers, while 50's documentary keeps picking up steam, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Diddy's legal team already tried to shut this whole thing down. They released a statement calling the documentary illegal, and even leaned on Netflix to pull it completely. But here's where things get even messier. One explosive story didn't make the final cut at all. That missing piece centers on someone extremely close to Diddy, his former bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. According to public claims, Wolf's passing is being pointed to as something Diddy was allegedly responsible for, and that's exactly why some people are furious it wasn't covered. Gene Deal recently spoke out and didn't hold back. He criticized the documentary for leaving Wolf out entirely and directly addressed Diddy's role in what happened.
You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksborough them, no, if y'all not going out there right, nobody should go out there at all. Wolf did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And that bullshit was with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote that whole shit. I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, Mighty. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying? He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit like that made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew, BMF was powerful back then. They had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more, it made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more. And one thing led to the next.
Gene also pushed back on the long-running narrative about the East Coast versus West Coast tension, saying it didn't start with Big Jake's homicide like people claim. Gene made it clear. Wolf was not the gunman who unalived Jake, and he insists. Everyone involved knows that. Wolf handled security and operations for Puff, and he repeatedly warned that he wouldn't move without full protection for his team. According to Gene, Wolf personally warned multiple people, including Puff and Kirk Burroughs, that he wasn't going anywhere without proper backup.
Garagos, who is my co-host on Two Angry Men, he's represented Diddy for years, and his daughter is part of the Agnifilo defense team, and he was involved in all of this. So in this past weekend's podcast, I pushed him to find out how Agnifilo really feels here, and Mark kind of skirted it some, but I think you get the sense. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think?
Would feel.
What do you think?
I will tell you, I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think as a lawyer, it is one of the most inviolate oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know, I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
Out of my head.
It's incredible. Diddy did two things here. Number one, he betrayed Mark Agnifilo, who, to your point, did so much for him. Obviously, without Mark Agnifilo, may very well be spending the rest of his life in prison. The second thing that he did is, by having a third party that's privy to the conversation, the videographer in this case standing there, there's no privilege, right? Diddy waived that entire privilege. Right. Now, it didn't end up backfiring because it seems nobody knew about it until the end of trial, and what are you going to do at this point? But it's such a callous act by Diddy to just sell out his lawyer like that. It's so
Those warnings were ignored, and tragically, Wolf lost his life while protecting Puff and managing security duties. Gene also stressed that this part of the story, including Wolf's alleged connection to BMF, was completely skipped in the documentary. In his eyes, that wasn't a small oversight. It was a major omission. His point is simple and heavy. Wolf's passing wasn't some random accident or side note. It was tied to power moves, industry pressure, and decisions made at the top, and it deserved way more attention.
On the stand for 20 minutes. She will continue on Monday, but before I tell you what she testified to, I do want to give you a warning that she does talk about violence and abuse. Started off with Dawn testifying that she was working with Diddy from 2004 until 2011. She opens up about an incident she witnessed in 2009 when she went to Diddy's home in order to record. She said her and Cassie were downstairs when they heard Diddy yelling and coming down saying, "Where the F are my eggs?" He said Diddy grabbed the skillet full of eggs and tried to hit Cassie on the head, and she went down in a fetal position. Was punching and kicking Cassie before he put his arm around her neck. Diddy then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her up the stairs, and she was in shock. She said she was so in shock she did not intervene, nor did she call the police. Next day, she said Diddy locked her and another person in the recording studio and threatened them. In her own words, he said what we saw was what lovers in passionate relationships do. He said Cassie was okay and it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He claims that Diddy then said he was trying to get them to the top of the industry before threatening them by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Then after all of that, he got them flowers. Prosecutor then asked, "How did you understand that?" And she said, "Death." His attorney yelled objection, and then they had a sidebar. That's when attorneys from both sides will come up to the judge and whisper between one another and nobody else can hear.
At the same time, Diddy and his family are reportedly preparing a massive $1 billion defamation lawsuit in response to the documentary. If filed, it could become one of the biggest cases of its kind ever. But even 50 Cent chimed in, saying legal action would require proving everything in the documentary is false. That's a risky road and could open doors Diddy may not want open. Financially, the pressure is real. Endless legal fees, appeals, and lawyers drain money fast. Without new income rolling in, the luxury lifestyle Diddy's known for becomes harder to maintain, and that alone hits hard. And then there's another serious issue.
If she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed.
Diddy allegedly recorded private conversations with his own lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, the same man who successfully defended him before. If true, that move is being seen as a major betrayal and only adds more chaos to an already explosive situation. Lawyers depend on client confidentiality to do their job properly. That trust is sacred, and once it's broken, everything falls apart. By allegedly allowing private legal conversations to be recorded,
a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTuber, could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland, according to Dawn. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Now, only time I ever witnessed Puff doing something is when 2 guys and 2 girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Yeah, that's what she said, man.
Scotland, Arizona, but not Scotland, the country.
Nah, she talking about the country, man.
Wow. I just think that, you know, man, you got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things that make you do strange things. And for somebody to just gangbanging an assistant, she might have a lawsuit now too. She might have a lawsuit too. Because you can't do that to people that work for you, bro.
Diddy completely shattered that protection and put himself in an even worse position. And ever since that reckless move, the truth just hasn't stopped leaking out. New details about his alleged operations and behavior keep surfacing, and the docuseries doesn't let up. It even shows footage from that period where Diddy is out in public, stopping for photos with people, mostly men who approach him directly. In one moment, he jokes about being overwhelmed by the attention, saying he needs hand sanitizer and a bath after all the hugs. He laughs and says, "That's what I have to do." It's like 150 hugs, you feel me? We gotta be realistic about what's going on out here. It's time to cleanse. That clip hits different now. Another jaw-dropping scene shows Diddy talking about hiring an editor to stitch together clips of Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, where she speaks positively about him.
Why you say that?
I did. Shit. If I wouldn't have never met him, I wouldn't have never been involved in this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? If I would have never met the brother, I would have never been involved in this bullshit. Really. Because me and Suge was playing on the same Pop Warner team and everything. My homeboys helped put Suge in the game and all that shit, you know? And it really crashed 2 people in Empire that fucking one night. You know what I'm saying? Mine's for sure. Suge's too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man. So you feel like Puffy, he's the reason for your empire and Suge empire going down because of the whole situation with Tupac.
Exactly. He the only one still balling. Shit. Yeah, he made our shit go down, man. Yeah, I ain't even met him over. He won't even look out or nothing, you know?
So break that down, man, for the people out there that don't know the backstory. What did Puffy do exactly to break down y'all empires?
Because he pitted us against each other, it seemed like he pitted us against each other. You know, which was kind of smart because we're Crips and Suge was Bloods. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just called me and Zip was rolling up Greenleaf one night. He called and asked, you think it's safe to come out here to do our concerts? And I just said, man, give me like 50 tickets. Each concert, we'll be out there with you. We'll go with you. We went to the concert in San Diego, went to the concert in Anaheim, Irvine Meadows, and the one in Las Vegas with them. Yeah, and back then they was just a startup coming up. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really have no money like that. We were balling. We was the bosses.
This is especially disturbing because Dawn later filed a civil lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault, battery, harsh working conditions, and unfair pay. Let's be clear, Dawn has every reason to speak negatively about him. Trying to flip that narrative and make it look the opposite comes off as cold and calculated, and people aren't buying it anymore. The series also includes audio from a 2008 proffer interview with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who is currently awaiting trial related to the 1996 homicide of Tupac Shakur. A proffer means he could speak to authorities without those statements being directly used against him. It's not immunity, but it opens doors. In that interview, Davis claims Diddy allegedly arranged Tupac's unaliving for $1 million. Is that proof? No.
This is a young man who grew up with street-funded privilege. After his father passed away, it's very clear that his mother kept on hustling and kept hanging around hustlers. Tim Dog has described the parties in the house: pimps, hoes, hustlers, models, basketball players. You got that kind of crowd. There's got to be a drug dealer or so there. Alcohol everywhere. There was a stage built in the living room, and they were asked to perform as kids. I mean, like, this is how he grew up. It was almost if he was designed to throw the parties that we'll later hear about, from the white parties to the parties overseas, with very, 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 very interesting things happening there, all the way to the freak-offs. It's like Sean Combs was in a never-ending party his whole life. Now, from a boy being draped in chinchilla to a boy running around the streets promoting parties, interning for Andre Harrell before he got a paid position. I mean, his life was like a whirlwind. It was almost like he was in too much of a rush to grow up. I mean, even the way Andre Harrell said he bullied his way into his home, coming up with some story about a fight between him and Janice and how he couldn't live with his mom anymore. And next thing you know, he's living with Andre. Now I'm going to be very honest with you. In my opinion, I do not believe they were just roommates. I do not believe this was just a mentor-mentee relationship. In my opinion, from rumors that I've heard, from some things that might have been lost along the way, there was a much closer relationship between Andre and Puffy.
A proffer alone doesn't establish guilt, but when paired with other details and timelines, it adds weight people can't ignore. The documentary also dives into Diddy's earlier life, his relationship with his mother, past romances, and patterns of alleged abuse, offering insight into his mindset as he climbed the industry ladder. Taken together, these moments paint a troubling picture. Not verdicts, not convictions, but a long pattern of risky, emotionally charged situations where Diddy somehow walked away untouched, while others didn't. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with others, and I'll see you on the next one.
They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified of Suge Knight.
Suge's outside. Everybody like, he was running, dropped.
So Suge came, he had some Mexican niggas. Now, we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. 118th Street Crew. I'm like, what the fuck? This is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when 50 niggas outside, what's up? And then the nigga Suge just walked away. Mexican niggas look kind of confused, like they didn't know what's going on.
Diddy had ties everywhere. Politicians, billionaires, chart-topping superstars, rap legends. The whole power grid was plugged into him. Even 50 Cent once stood close to him before that relationship snapped and turned ugly. But in an industry full of people chasing access, there was one artist who stayed far away from Diddy's world, no matter how big the lights got. One artist who wanted zero parts of that circle. Not in the 90s, not in the 2000s, not ever. And that artist was Eminem. By the time Eminem finally blew up, he had already been firing slick jabs and bold shots at Diddy for years. Back then, M was still grinding for respect while Diddy was already sitting on top of hip-hop as the ultimate power player. Bad Boy Records was the dream stop for almost every rapper alive, but not for him. Marshall wasn't chasing approval, he was chasing control. Instead, he locked his sights on Aftermath Records and Dr. Dre, the partnership he had dreamed about long before fame showed up. Together, they didn't just win, they rewrote the game.
And the winner is Eminem, the Eminem Show. Yes, sir.
I told you you can't trust these niggas. Now Puffy done killed Tupac, man.
Puff said it's in his hands, and he said I can say it. And that's the end of that.
Have fun with that one.
He said, yeah, there's nothing to say about it. It's in my hands.
And what's wild is even when Eminem was still considered a nobody, he had already taken his first shot at Puff back in 1996 on a track that didn't go unnoticed. Eminem also had smoke with another so-called untouchable industry giant, Suge Knight. The man behind Death Row Records, home to legends like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre's Suge's reputation was dark and heavy. People didn't just fear him, they avoided him. Suge built his empire through pressure, intimidation, and ruthless tactics, and everyone knew it. That reputation followed him everywhere, including when he pulled up deep with a crew of Mexican gang members on the set of 50 Cent's In Dog Club video. But Eminem didn't back down. He didn't hide. He walked straight outside and faced Suge and his crew head on. So if Eminem was willing to stare down Suge Knight without blinking, why would he ever be scared of Diddy? Honestly, looking back now, it's hard to even say who was really more dangerous, Suge or Puff. But let's circle back to the real point here. Eminem didn't let up at all. In 2000, on the Marshall Mathers LP, he kept Diddy's name in rotation with sharp, reckless bars. One line raised eyebrows, but it wasn't even the wildest one.
Now let's talk some hip hop shit, man. I want to talk to Puff right now.
Yes.
Now it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah. Check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect. But I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
All right.
Thank you.
And I said,
Then came another lyric where M referenced Diddy's then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, describing what he said he would do if given the chance. That part landed way darker and made people uncomfortable fast. Then Eminem followed it up with another jab, rapping, "I have a son and a new brother at the same time, and just say that it ain't mine. What's my name?" That line had people talking heavy. Puff never clapped back publicly, but nobody believed he laughed it off either. Even with all those bold lyrics, there was no full-blown public battle between Eminem and Diddy in the early 2000s. They were both moving in different lanes. Eminem was dropping multi-platinum albums under Dr. Dre's guidance, while Sean Combs was busy expanding the Bad Boy empire and switching stage names from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy to Diddy. Their paths barely crossed outside of award shows and big industry moments where both were treated like royalty. In fact, in 2003, Diddy even handed Eminem a Grammy for Best Rap Album. That moment surprised a lot of people. Later on, Diddy spoke on Eminem in an interview saying, "I think Eminem's up there with the best." He added that Biggie and Tupac were a different caliber, but still made it clear Eminem was incredible in his own right. Public respect was shown, even if the tension never fully disappeared. Through shared connections, their worlds overlapped again thanks to one name, 50 Cent. In the early 2000s, Diddy was interested in signing the buzzing rapper, but passed because of 50's street issues with Ja Rule. That decision changed everything. 50 Cent ended up under Eminem and Dr. Dre instead, went nuclear, and sold tens of millions of records.
I had never made a call to Diddy, really? I got Diddy's number, just hit him up. Yo, Diddy, what up? Never happened.
It was like he was doing a breakdance trying to jump in the back seat or something.
In the end, Diddy watched an artist he skipped turn into a monster superstar under Eminem's wing. After that, everything went silent for a long stretch. No shots, no headlines, no tension out in the open. But that quiet didn't last forever. In 2015, things heated back up when the documentary Murder Rap Inside the Biggie and Tupac Homicides dropped. In it, retired LAPD officer Greg Kading laid out his investigation and claimed that Diddy allegedly offered money connected to Tupac's unaliving, naming Keith D as one of the shooters. Those were heavy allegations, and the hip-hop world froze for a second. 50 Cent jumped on the story immediately, pushing the narrative online and reminding everyone of old Eminem lyrics that suddenly didn't feel random anymore. The internet went wild. Fans argued nonstop, some saying Eminem crossed the line, others wondering if there was more behind those bars than shock value. As Joe Budden later said on his podcast, Combs was extremely unhappy when he heard "kill shot." This time, it wasn't something Diddy could just brush off. Tupac has always been a sensitive subject, and Diddy has consistently denied any involvement, often sidestepping questions whenever they come up. Later on, when Eminem spoke about the MGK beef in an interview, he made it clear that he and Diddy had nothing in common, not even each other's phone numbers. That said a lot without saying too much. By 2018, it looked like Eminem and Diddy were staying completely out of each other's lanes. But hip-hop never stays quiet for long. In 2020, Eminem dropped Music to Be Murdered By, and on the opening track, Godzilla, he briefly mentioned Diddy again. Quick line, quick reminder. Then things got messy fast. In June 2020, a small scandal popped off when an unreleased Eminem verse leaked online. The verse had been recorded the year before for a remix of Conway the Machine's Bang. In that original version, Marshall directly dissed Diddy's media company, Revolt TV, in a blunt and aggressive way. Less than a day later, Eminem walked it back. He posted a statement on Twitter, Revolt. Still, the damage was done, and once again their names were tied together. But the most explosive chapter of this story didn't happen back then. It unfolded very recently. By fall of 2023, Diddy's world started shaking hard. multiple women came forward with serious accusations, alleging sexual assault and abuse. The most shocking lawsuit came from Cassie, Diddy's longtime former girlfriend, who described years of alleged mistreatment, control, and violence in disturbing detail. That lawsuit alone sent shockwaves through the industry. Then things escalated even more. Keith D was arrested after repeatedly going on YouTube platforms and openly talking about his past, his alleged friendship with Diddy, and claims that Puff once asked him to help arrange Tupac's unaliving, a homicide Keith D publicly said he was involved in. Suddenly, old rumors were back in the spotlight, louder than ever. Right in the middle of all this chaos, Eminem dropped the death of Slim Shady and went at Diddy harder than he ever had before. On Bad One, M references the so-called Diddy Party and makes it clear he's poking on purpose. Then he takes it even further with lines where he jokes about staying out of beef because, as he puts it, someone might put a hit on me like Keith D. That wasn't subtle at all. It didn't stop there. On the remix of Fuel, Eminem keeps pressing the issue, suggesting that Biggie's homicide was a domino effect tied back to Tupac's passing. Heavy words, dangerous territory, and definitely not accidental. After everything Eminem put on that album, there's no illusion left. These two are not cool. Eminem stands firmly with 50 Cent, and that alone means there will never be any alliance with Diddy. On the flip side, Diddy appears to be taking all of this very personally. After 50 Cent's documentary buzz, Diddy even sent him funeral flowers, which many saw as a clear message. All of this proves one thing. Eminem has never been scared of power, money, or reputation. Not Suge Knight, not Diddy, nobody. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Eminem crossed the line, or was he just saying what others were scared to say? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs to see it, and I'll catch you on the next one.
The Reckoning, Sean Combs' The Reckoning being not only #1 in the US, but now #1 in the UK. And he posted some flowers, and y'all know 50 love being funny.
If you take that top card, when I die, I want my last words to be, I did it.
So here's where things start getting uncomfortable. 50 Cent just shed light on why Snoop Dogg suddenly disappeared the exact moment the Diddy documentary landed on Netflix. And what's coming out is far darker than most people expected. Sources close to the situation are now saying Snoop's involvement may not be as clean as his public image suggests, and that detail alone has people looking at him differently. You didn't click this video for no reason. Something felt off when Snoop went silent, and that instinct was right. The documentary shot straight to #1 on Netflix in both the United States and the UK. And right after that, Snoop went completely quiet.
Happy to have you back, my man.
Man, I ain't went nowhere. I'm closer than you think.
Yeah, man, I had to run it back. I mean, the people rock with you, so, it was only right, man. So I gotta ask you, because over the years, man, there's been a lot of confusion.
So, Snoop didn't go nowhere near the hospital. So when it happened, as you know, for some strange reason, but now we know the real reason, Snoop did not attend the fight with us.
No Instagram posts, no tweets, no random commentary, nothing at all. That's strange behavior for someone who's usually active every single day. The timing is what really raises eyebrows. The moment the documentary dropped and conversations about Diddy's past started heating up, Snoop disappeared. No jokes, no reactions, no distancing statements, just silence. When pressure hits and someone with a loud voice suddenly stops talking, people start asking questions.
Or the club, the after party at Club 662. And what's so crazy about that, we thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he didn't attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this. I was at my house in Vegas, and I started calling Snoop, telling him, hey, what's up? Like it's something wrong with this situation. Pac in the hospital, come holler at him, come check on him. So he drove down, and I was at the house waiting on him. And Tupac's mother was at my house.
In this video, we're breaking down why Snoop vanished right when Diddy became the center of attention. We're also going into claims from people who say they were around during those years and witnessed certain situations firsthand. On top of that, there's information that's been sitting in plain sight for decades, overlooked or ignored until now. Then there's Kim Porter. According to resurfaced claims, she allegedly caught Diddy in a situation that also involved Snoop.
Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always.
If true, that changes how a lot of people view this entire story and explains why certain names may want to stay out of the spotlight. Before going deeper, it's important to understand one thing. Snoop and Diddy weren't just casual industry friends. Their relationship ran deep behind the scenes long before the cameras were on. When the documentary dropped and people began sharing their stories, the pressure didn't stop with Diddy. It spread fast. It's heavy, no doubt about it, but here's what really stands out.
Dog and Death Row, y'all don't love us. Y'all don't love us.
All on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
But I was like, damn, we on the same record label. I know these people are really thinking like we are like
Coast, West Coast. We got beef with the people we got beef with, but we could go anywhere in the country because we are America.
While everyone else was reacting, posting clips, and giving their takes, Snoop Dogg said absolutely nothing. Complete silence. No posts, no comments, no slick jokes. For someone who usually weighs in on everything happening in hip-hop, that quiet feels off. What makes it even stranger is that Snoop previously went on television explaining just how deep the family ties really were. He said his sons and Sean Combs' sons had been best friends since they were around 6 years old.
Put it up a little bit more. Let me see how that. Oh yeah, damn.
You know what I'm saying? We don't hold our man hand. We shake it and get it back in our pocket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got Diddy and Neo, and if you heard Neo's wife call him Little Diddy, that he like freak off, get high and get freak off. They all baby oil you up.
Oh man, what the hell is that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yo. Not him and the son. That's the son, right?
Yeah. He talked about how close the families were and how Kim Porter, who has since passed away, used to bring the kids together for play dates like it was nothing. He pointed out that when Justin went to UCLA, his son went there too. When Christian started rapping, his son followed the same path. These families moved in sync for years, connected at every level behind the scenes. That kind of bond doesn't just fade overnight. So here's the question people keep asking quietly.
Just recently contacted by someone who wanted me to essentially represent them in the sale of one of the Diddy tapes. So, which I declined that because...
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that again, back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became a public knowledge.
I've heard this before, so like a catch and kill.
Catch and kill, correct.
Wow, can you, and I guess you can't reveal the person who is on
No, I
tape.
can't explain who the person was, but Mr.
High profile?
Mr. Combs was in the tape and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile.
When someone that close to you gets exposed for serious alleged wrongdoing, and your response is to disappear completely, what does that say? Most innocent people would at least say something, even a short statement, just to separate themselves from the situation. Again, this isn't an accusation, it's about patterns that don't add up. Now, to understand why people are uneasy, you have to look at what the allegations even involve. Claims of inappropriate parties, claims of compromising situations involving both names, and even darker rumors that suggest possible involvement in trafficking. All of it remains alleged, but the nature of the claims alone explains why the silence feels loud. Now it's time to look back at Snoop's behavior over the years, because once people started rewatching old clips, certain moments hit differently.
Dude is a demon. That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He was possessed with some kind of demon. Want to be in this, all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature, a certain type of music for the vibration they were saying. Come on, bro. And I don't care what nobody say, man. And like, when people still talking, keep on talking, if that priest ever come out and he talking, if people keep talking, you'll find out that a lot of that Gene Deal has said has been the truth and nothing but the truth.
One clip especially made people pause. When Diddy once said on television, "When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it," the camera cut to Snoop. His reaction was an awkward smile that lingered just a little too long. Now people are replaying that moment and wondering if it meant more than it seemed at the time. Watching that moment now feels less like a joke and more like two people sharing something they both understand but never say out loud. It's unsettling. And according to some claims, that's only the surface of it. This is where Suge Knight comes into the picture. Suge is currently serving a life sentence, and because of that, people believe he has nothing left to protect or gain by speaking.
I had to bring you back. This documentary got everyone talking, man. A lot of people want to know why you wasn't in it, man.
Well, first and foremost, I thought I was going to be in the documentary at first until I started talking to that director. I think her name is Stapleton. I don't know her name. Is it right here? I don't know, man. Me and 50 talked like 45 minutes. The producers had been calling me and everything. So this one night, 50 called me up and, they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. We was talking about old time shit, sit down with Black Hands, sit down with, with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing.
Suge has shared a story about the night Tupac Shakur was shot in Las Vegas that made a lot of people pause. According to him, Snoop Dogg was supposed to attend the Mike Tyson fight with them that night. The tickets were set, the plans were locked in, and this wasn't just any event. Suge claimed it was the first time Snoop ever skipped something like that with the group. At the last minute, Snoop allegedly didn't show up. No fight, no club afterward, nothing at all.
You know what I'm saying? So I told him that I was going to, have Kirk and Tim. Kirk will be the one who talk about the business part of it. Tim will be the one who talk about the growing up phase with Diddy and everything and over there working in the record industry with him and stuff like that. They was like family. And I was gonna talk about, the street stuff, what was going on with Bad Boy, with the security, with Wolf, with the city college, with the time that I knew about when I was with him up until about early 2004 or something like that. But basically the streets and then the traveling with him and the atmosphere and everything. And then go back into the Notorious Big stuff with the Tupac and the whole 9 yards, all the stuff that I knew.
Not long after that, Tupac was shot. As Pac lay in the hospital fighting for his life, Suge said Snoop still didn't come by. According to Suge, Snoop was at his house in Las Vegas instead, staying away while everyone else rushed to the hospital. Suge said he kept calling Snoop, telling him that Pac was hurt and asking him to come check on him. When Snoop finally showed up at the house, Suge claimed Afeni Shakur was already there, visibly upset over her son's condition. According to Suge, Snoop told them both that Tupac hated him at that moment and was angry with him. What came next is what made people uncomfortable. Suge claimed Snoop began crying and then started throwing up. He described it as someone overwhelmed in a way that didn't look normal for the situation. Suge interpreted that reaction as guilt, not grief, though that remains his personal interpretation.
I done been confronted by so many law enforcement for the CDs. Even my studio equipment was confiscated.
Now, peeps, we have an exclusive on the Lionel B Show today. A Diddy insider sat down with me to...
Then another name entered the story. Warren G., who is family to Snoop, has confirmed that Snoop was at his house the night Tupac was shot. Suge added that Snoop allegedly had a walkie-talkie with him that night, not a regular one, but a type of security radio used at major events. According to Suge, those radios could work across long distances, even across the West Coast. That led people to ask why Snoop would have access to something like that while watching the fight on television. Some witnesses have claimed they heard voices on a radio saying "got him" after the shooting. These remain allegations, but when people connect the dots, the questions only get louder. people started going back and studying Snoop's body language whenever he was around Tupac Shakur. And once you see it, it's hard to ignore. There's visible tension in those moments. Snoop often looks uneasy, guarded, and during the East Coast versus West Coast era, many noticed how he positioned himself closer to Sean Combs' circle instead of standing fully with Death Row. Back then, people were already saying Snoop turned his back on Tupac. Those accusations weren't whispered years later, they were happening in real time. Most fans brushed it off because Snoop had that laid-back image everyone trusted. He seemed calm, cool, untouchable. But now, with hindsight, people are saying the warning signs were there the whole time. This is where things start getting especially uncomfortable. A man named Courtney Burgess recently came forward. He claims to be a music industry veteran with over 3 decades of experience, and he says he's in possession of what he calls Kim Porter's real memoir. Not the version that was publicly released and later disputed by her children, but a private collection she allegedly kept hidden. According to Courtney, Kim was documenting everything quietly. He claims she kept photos, notes, and other materials because she feared how dangerous certain people could be. Before her passing in 2018, he alleges she passed this material to someone she trusted to keep it safe. In interviews, Courtney claims the memoir includes photos showing Snoop and Diddy together in situations that he describes as inappropriate for how straight male friends usually interact. One image he references allegedly shows Diddy touching Snoop's hand in a prolonged and intimate way. Courtney emphasizes these weren't quick gestures, but moments that lingered. Not during one interview, redacted versions of some photos were shown. Faces were obscured, but the body language raised questions for viewers watching. Courtney summed it up by saying, "Men don't normally hold another man's hand like that. You shake hands and move on." But he says these images show something else entirely. He also claims there are similar photos involving Diddy and other industry figures like Ne-Yo and Andre Harrell, all allegedly documented by Kim before her passing. At first, many people dismissed these claims as gossip, but as more details surfaced, some started questioning whether it was really that simple. Then things took another turn when parts of this story started overlapping with a federal investigation. A lawyer named Ariel Mitchell appeared on national television. She represents multiple alleged victims connected to the case involving Sean Combs, and during that appearance, she shared information that immediately caught public attention. Ariel said she was contacted by someone attempting to sell a video described as a freak-off tape. According to her, the footage allegedly shows Diddy along with another celebrity. What stood out most was her claim that the second person in the video is more high-profile and more recognizable than Diddy himself. She confirmed she had seen still images taken from the video and said the second individual's face was clearly visible. She explained that the video was allegedly filmed inside Diddy's Atlanta home and that it appeared the other person did not know they were being recorded. Ariel specifically stated that it did not look like the person was participating in the recording process and instead appeared to be filmed without consent. She also confirmed the footage was graphic in nature. Due to legal reasons, she said she could not name the second celebrity. Since then, multiple sources have come forward claiming that the individual in question is Snoop Dogg. These claims remain unproven, but the timing has caused people to start connecting dots. Kim Porter passed away suddenly in 2018 from pneumonia at the age of 47. At the time, she was described as healthy, and according to claims already discussed, she allegedly possessed sensitive material involving powerful figures. That has led some to question whether her passing raised unanswered questions, especially considering the information she was rumored to have documented. None of this has been proven, but the overlap has kept public curiosity alive. Attention then shifted to people who were close to Diddy behind the scenes. Gene Deal, who worked as Diddy's personal bodyguard for years, has spoken publicly about what he claims to have witnessed. He described certain parties as dark and ritualistic, mentioning specific music, lighting, and symbolic actions that made him uncomfortable. He has described seeing spiritual figures present and unusual behavior that he says stayed with him long after. Gene has also stated that Snoop was present at some of these events, not just as a casual guest, but as someone who allegedly knew what was going on. These statements remain allegations, but they add to the growing list of claims. There is also Allie Carter, who has spoken publicly for years about her experiences as a survivor of trafficking. Since around 2020, she has named both Diddy and Snoop in her statements. Her claims have not been legally resolved, but her voice continues to be part of the wider conversation surrounding these allegations. For a long time, nobody took her seriously. People mocked her online, dismissed her claims, and told her to stay quiet. But now, some are saying that what she warned about years ago is starting to line up with what's coming out today. Allie Carter has stated that in her view, Snoop Dogg holds more influence in certain industry circles than Sean Combs ever did. Allie has said that accusations involving Snoop surfaced publicly back in December 2020. But according to her, they were ignored. She pointed out how, despite those claims, Snoop continued to be celebrated, headlined major events, and maintained a respected public image. Her criticism wasn't just about one person, but about selective outrage. She questioned how society chooses who gets held accountable and who gets a pass. She has also claimed that at one point all three figures were connected. And she strongly suggests that alliances behind the scenes didn't match what fans were told publicly. In her view, Snoop and Diddy were allegedly working together while Tupac was being pushed aside. She compared Diddy's level of protection to that of powerful political figures, saying there's a reason people are afraid to challenge him. Allie also referenced Kanye West, suggesting that when he began speaking about uncomfortable industry topics, his behavior changed suddenly. She implied that pressure or fear may have played a role in silencing him, though that remains her personal interpretation. At this point, many viewers ask the same question: where is the proof? That's a fair question. According to publicly reported information, federal investigators have seized electronic devices from properties connected to Diddy, including computers and storage drives. Multiple sources have claimed that during sealed testimony, Snoop's name has surfaced more than once. These details have not been made public, but they continue to circulate among legal observers. Then there's Snoop's public record when it comes to Tupac. Some critics point to what they call a pattern of misleading stories. One example involves Snoop telling a detailed story about an encounter with Nas during the East Coast and West Coast tension. Snoop described a heated moment where Tupac allegedly confronted Nas. The issue is that Nas later responded publicly and said Snoop was not present at that encounter. Members of the Outlaws, who were close to Tupac at the time, also backed up Nas's version. That contradiction has caused people to revisit other stories Snoop has told and question how much of the narrative has been shaped over time. So the question people keep asking is simple. Why would Snoop Dogg tell stories about moments he wasn't even present for? In the video breaking this down, one person asked what feels like the obvious question. Why would Snoop think he could get away with telling a false story when the people who were actually there could easily correct him? Some believe the answer comes down to image. Snoop needs to stay attached to Tupac Shakur's legacy to protect his own credibility. He needs the public to believe he was loyal to Tupac until the very end. If it ever became widely accepted that he betrayed Tupac or aligned himself elsewhere, it wouldn't just hurt his reputation. It would shake the foundation of his entire career. Look at how often Snoop brings up Tupac in interviews. How many times he appears emotional when telling these stories. How often Tupac's name gets used to reinforce Snoop's image as authentic and respected. Critics say it doesn't feel random. It feels calculated, like a role that's been carefully maintained over the years. Then the conversation turns to something darker that has circulated in industry rumors for a long time. Some sources have spoken about a so-called initiation process in the music business. The details are intentionally left vague because of how disturbing the claims are, but the idea centers on young artists being pressured to prove loyalty at any cost. According to Suge Knight and others, Snoop allegedly passed this test, which they claim helped fast-track his rise to the top. What people find strange is Snoop's long-running fixation on boiled eggs. He frequently jokes about them, posts them online, and even weaves them into his branding. Some believe it's just humor. Others think it's symbolic, a quiet signal to those who understand the reference. On its own, it sounds ridiculous. But when paired with the other claims, some say the pattern starts to feel intentional. Finally, critics point to how Snoop has managed his public image whenever controversy starts circling. Right as allegations involving Sean Combs began gaining traction, Snoop suddenly appeared in a highly positive spotlight. He was named an honorary coach representing the United States for the Winter Olympics, shifting attention back to celebration and away from scrutiny. To some, that timing didn't feel accidental at all. The timing raised a lot of eyebrows. Right as questions started swirling, Snoop Dogg suddenly landed a massive public platform. Positive headlines everywhere. People calling him fun, lovable, and untouchable. That kind of spotlight works as a perfect distraction when uncomfortable conversations are starting to build. Not long after, he was everywhere. Commercials, brand deals, family-friendly appearances, from T-Mobile ads to The Voice to NFL coverage, his image shifted hard into wholesome territory. Critics say it looked like a full-on PR push, building goodwill before anything negative could gain traction. Around the same time, another former bodyguard connected to Sean Combs spoke publicly about why he wasn't featured in Diddy. The Reckoning, produced by 50 Cent. Gene Deal said it wasn't just about money, although he did claim the production tried to underpay him. More importantly, he said key information was left out of the final cut. According to Gene, the documentary skipped over details that would have made the story far more damaging. He claimed that during interviews and discussions, Snoop's name kept coming up when people talked about who was really involved behind the scenes. Gene also brought up the 1991 City College incident where 9 people died during a crowd surge at a Diddy event. He suggested the public version of that night doesn't tell the full story and implied that others knew more than they ever admitted. He claimed Snoop was aware of certain details, but chose to stay silent. Gene has also stated that federal investigators have been gathering evidence for years. According to him, there are sealed testimonies naming specific celebrities, and he believes more indictments could be coming as cases move forward. What really made people pause is this. Gene Deal and Suge Knight don't get along and never have. Yet both men have made similar claims about Snoop. When two people with no reason to protect each other say the same thing about a third person, some believe it's worth paying attention. In industry circles, people rarely speak directly. Instead, they use coded language. Phrases like sitting in the director's chair or being on the director's lap are said to reference compromising situations that allegedly open doors and fast-track success. Multiple witnesses have claimed that after those alleged encounters, Snoop Dogg's career shifted fast. He went from being a respected rapper to suddenly being everywhere. Major deals, major platforms, industry protection that most artists never get. People say that level of insulation doesn't come without a reason. According to these sources, you don't become untouchable unless you're connected to something much bigger. The claim isn't that Snoop was simply used and discarded. The allegation is that he became part of the system itself. Not just someone who survived it, but someone who benefited from it and stayed protected inside it. So when people ask why Snoop disappeared the moment 50 Cent's documentary dropped, this is where the pieces start lining up. Federal investigators have reportedly seized video evidence from properties linked to Sean Combs. A lawyer publicly confirmed that tapes exist involving celebrities who are considered even more high profile. Multiple independent sources continue to claim that Snoop's name is tied to those materials. There are also allegations that Kim Porter documented her observations before her passing, including details about relationships and behavior she found troubling. People who were close to the situation and present behind the scenes have started speaking out after years of silence. And Snoop's response to all of it has been consistent. Silence. No statements, no legal threats, no public denials. For critics, that reaction raises questions. If someone were falsely accused of being involved in serious wrongdoing, most people would rush to defend themselves. They would issue statements, pursue defamation claims, or at least say something. Instead, Snoop went dark. This is the same person who usually comments on every controversy in hip-hop. The same person who stays active online and weighs in on nearly everything. But when his close associate became the center of major allegations, his voice disappeared. Some people see that as loyalty. Others see it as self-preservation. And here's what keeps coming up in conversations among insiders. They say this story isn't finished. They believe more names are coming, and what's already surfaced may only be the beginning. What keeps coming up behind the scenes is that the federal investigation isn't slowing down. According to multiple reports, cases are being built involving more than one celebrity. People familiar with the situation claim Snoop Dogg's name continues to surface in sealed testimony that hasn't been released publicly yet. That's where 50 Cent comes back into the picture. Many believe he knows far more than he's saying. That's why he made the documentary. That's why he's been posting cryptic messages about Sean Combs for years. And that may explain why Snoop went silent. Because if 50 really has receipts, staying quiet might feel safer than speaking out. This is a lot to take in, no doubt. Putting this together wasn't easy, but conversations like this matter. We can't keep protecting celebrities just because we grew up listening to their music or watching them on TV. If these allegations turn out to be true, and there's a growing amount of information pointing in that direction, then people have every right to re-examine what they thought they knew. That would mean Snoop spent decades presenting himself as loyal to Tupac Shakur, while critics argue he may have played a very different role behind the scenes. It would also mean maintaining a friendly, harmless public image while serious accusations remained hidden in the background. None of this has been proven in court yet, but the volume of claims is why people are paying attention. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Snoop is hiding something? Do you believe his name could appear in future indictments? And if all of this turns out to be true, how should fans respond after supporting him for so many years? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I read the comments and I genuinely want to know how you see this situation. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with the video. It's heavy, but these stories matter. Victims deserve to be heard, and power shouldn't shield anyone from accountability. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with others who are following this story. More information continues to surface. More voices are coming forward, and the investigation is still active. This story is far from finished. I'll see you in the next one.
I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had,
Gene Deal just popped back up and says he's finally done staying quiet. You remember that Netflix documentary about Diddy everyone keeps arguing about, right? Well, Gene claims there was footage and details that were way too hot for Netflix to touch, so it never made it in. And now he's hinting that the parts 50 Cent allegedly had to cut or censor might end up getting put out anyway, piece by piece. And let's be real. People click this because they want the unfiltered version.
You could figure out a way to pay her, brother, and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what.
Not the cleaned up TV edit. Gene Deal, who's known as Diddy's former bodyguard, just did an interview, and he's talking like somebody who feels ignored, disrespected, and ready to air it out. But keep this in mind the whole time. These are Gene's claims and opinions, not confirmed facts. Here's where it gets messy. Gene says he was supposed to be part of the Netflix project. He says he spoke with 50 Cent for around 45 minutes, like it was really happening.
What I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in. You got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde David.
Then he claims everything went sideways because of how the director treated him, and he walked away from it completely. Now he's pushing the story that the documentary left out some of the biggest parts on purpose. Gene says the cut material connects to major moments people still debate, like the City College tragedy and what he says he knows about Anthony Wolf Jones. He also suggests there are more questions around Kim Porter that didn't make it on screen, and he implies certain powerful people didn't want specific angles discussed.
and Jessica. You know what I'm saying? Jessica was the reason why those kids lost their life, because she locked the door on those kids running down the step. You understand? You could see her name in a news article, but they didn't mention nothing about her taking place, but they try to put Heavy D, God bless the dead, out there and they put Puff out there. You know what I'm saying? She should have been the main one, because she is the one who locked the door on the kids. You understand? She is the one who locked the door on the kids, and all those kids lost their life.
He doesn't lay it out like a neat timeline. It's more like he's saying, you only got the safe version. Netflix dropped Sean Combs' The Reckoning. It shot up fast and everybody's watching. But Gene's angle is simple. The version people saw is missing key stories, and he's positioning himself as the guy who's about to talk anyway. For years, this guy says he saw it all up close. The parties people whisper about, the violence nobody wants to claim, the business moves, the losses, the ugly moments that never make headlines.
Oh man, you working
Everybody
hard.
telling me you got to see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Part of me don't want to see it.
You probably don't.
Because it's all skewed, man. Like when you put stuff together, you create whatever narratives you want to, and at the end of the day, everybody being programmed. You know, right now the man's serving time.
Right.
You know, he went before the court. The court said this, and everything is God. But God said this is what he got to do. He got to do 5 years in pen. Let him do his 5 years.
According to Gene, he wasn't just standing around. He was watching, listening, and stacking footage and proof, waiting for the moment he felt safe enough to talk. At first, Gene actually believed in 50 Cent's documentary idea. He thought this was finally going to be the time the real story slipped past the filters. He went in expecting respect and honesty, but once he sat down with the director, Alex Stapleton, everything flipped. That meeting, by Gene's account, went left fast. Gene tried to move smart. He wanted a package deal, bringing in Tim and Kirk Burrows, two other men who had known Diddy since the early days. The pitch was simple: 3 voices, 1 full timeline, from childhood to street life to the rise of the business empire.
At that footage of Diddy.
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage.
No gaps, no skipping chapters. Gene asked for $50,000 total for all 3, saying the footage and knowledge made it worth it. That's when Gene says things got disrespectful. Alex allegedly told him that 50 Cent didn't control the documentary at all. According to her, his name was just there for marketing, not decision-making or payments. Gene says that moment told him everything. He felt played. Gene even pulled out invoices from other documentaries to prove his value. He says he showed receipts, real numbers, real history. But instead of meeting him halfway, he claims she called him a liar. In his mind, that crossed the line. This is someone who says he risked his life, saw crimes firsthand, and protected powerful people, only to be treated like he was making things up. And here's where the tension really cracked. While Gene was trying to secure fair money for everyone, Kirk Burrows was allegedly making quiet side deals on his own. Industry politics at its finest. Gene says he was thinking collective, while others were thinking personal. Once he realized that, he didn't argue. He didn't beg. He walked away. He refused to take part, and that's a big reason why the Netflix documentary feels like it's missing pieces. The person who claims he knew the most chose to stay out of it back then. Now he's saying he's ready to talk, and he's pointing straight at the things that were left out. And one of the biggest gaps starts with how Bad Boy Records was really set up. The documentary barely touched the structure of the label, and according to Gene, that wasn't an accident. He says Kirk Burrows, one of the original insiders, owned 25% of Bad Boy Records from the jump. Diddy held the other 75%, but here's the part that raises eyebrows. The company wasn't officially under Diddy's name. It was placed under his mother, Janice Combs. Gene claims that move wasn't about family pride, it was about protection. He says Diddy knew legal trouble was coming after the City College tragedy. 9 people lost their lives at an event connected to that situation, and lawsuits were expected. So according to Gene's version, putting the company in his mother's name was a way to dodge direct legal responsibility. Cold, calculated, and strategic, at least from Gene's perspective. But it didn't stop there. Gene says Diddy later wanted Kirk's 25% too. In Kirk's own words, as mentioned in the documentary, Diddy allegedly showed up with a baseball bat and forced him to sign away his ownership. Kirk later tried to sue in 2003, but the case was dismissed because too much time had passed. Just like that, it was over. Think about how wild that sounds. A co-founder helps build a label from nothing, puts in the work, helps shape the brand, and then allegedly loses everything through intimidation. Gene claims Kirk ended up broke for a period, while Diddy went on to build massive wealth from the same company. The documentary mentioned this, but Gene says it barely scratched the surface. And according to Gene, he could have laid out the full blueprint, how the company was shielded, how money was moved, and how lawsuits were avoided. None of that made the final cut, and Gene clearly wants people asking why, and then things turn even darker. Gene says there's an entire unaliving the documentary ignored completely. He's talking about Anthony Wolf Jones, who he says was Bad Boy's head of security from day one. Before the executives, before the big deals, before the spotlight, Wolf was already there. Before any of the fame, before the label deals, before the spotlight, Wolf was one of Diddy's most trusted people. According to Gene, this wasn't just a security guy, this was someone who knew everything. Who got paid off, who stayed quiet, what really went down at those parties, and which situations were covered up before they ever hit the streets. Gene makes it clear that Wolf knew too much. Gene claims Diddy's actions directly played a role in what happened to Wolf. He says the documentary team never had the full picture to tell that story the right way. Either they didn't dig deep enough, didn't have the proof, or chose not to use what they found. Wolf was allegedly unalived by someone connected to BMF, Black Mafia family, one of the most feared criminal organizations tied to hip-hop history. And Gene is saying straight up there's a direct line between Wolf's End and Diddy. But if you watch the documentary, you barely heard his name. A couple photos, a quick mention that he handled security, then they moved right along. Gene believes that wasn't by accident. This story drags in real criminals, real violence, and real organized crime. Netflix wasn't trying to open that door. And Gene suggests even 50 Cent may not have wanted that smoke either. But from Gene's point of view, this story doesn't disappear just because it's uncomfortable. Gene says Wolf's passing wasn't random. It connected back to everything else happening behind the scenes. And just when you think it can't get darker, he shifts to the City College tragedy. A moment the documentary talked about, but according to Gene, never fully explained. Gene says he was actually there that night, December 28, 1991. Diddy organized a celebrity basketball game at City College in New York. It was promoted as a big charity event. Heavy D was involved, major names were expected, Mike Tyson, LL Cool J, the whole scene. The building was packed wall to wall. Gene says his security team was originally hired to handle crowd control outside. He had 18 men lined up, dogs on site, gates set, a full plan in place. He understood how crowds in Harlem react when celebrities pull up. But the day before the event, Diddy allegedly told him Heavy D didn't want Gene's team there anymore. Just like that, they were fired. No outside security. So when the night came, Gene says chaos wasn't a surprise. It was inevitable. Thousands of people were packed outside, all trying to force their way in at the same time. When Mike Tyson and LL Cool J entered through the front instead of a secured back entrance, the energy flipped instantly. According to Gene, the crowd surged without warning. People were pushed forward, bodies pressed together, and the stairwell turned into a trap almost immediately. Here's the detail Gene says the documentary skipped over. There was a promoter named Jessica Rosenblum working alongside Diddy and Heavy D. Gene claims that when she saw the crowd rushing, her fear wasn't about safety, it was about the cash, the ticket money. He says she grabbed the money box and locked the door at the bottom of the stairwell to protect it. That single move, according to Gene, sealed off the exit and trapped hundreds of people inside. 9 young people lost their lives that night. Gene says it wasn't chaos alone, it was a locked door that turned panic into tragedy. He explains that he couldn't even reach the stairwell because the crowd was too dense. He had to run all the way around the gym, find another entrance, and start unlocking doors from the inside. By the time he got there, some victims were already gone. Gene says he tried CPR on a 17-year-old boy. It didn't work. The boy's older brother was there crying, saying this was the first time he had ever taken his younger brother out. terrified of how he would face his mother. That moment, Gene says, never left him. He witnessed it with his own eyes and says he knows exactly who locked that door. But Jessica Rosenblum was never held accountable, according to Gene. Her name shows up in old news articles, then disappears. No charges, no consequences, no real follow-up. The documentary mentioned the City College tragedy, but Gene says it softened the story. It focused on Diddy and Heavy D, while leaving out why the security team was fired, why exits were blocked, and why money was prioritized over lives. Gene says he tried to tell this version. He wanted it in the documentary. It never made the final cut. And that's why he says people should really look at why he walked away in the first place, because the behind-the-scenes drama was just as disturbing as the stories he was trying to expose. It was supposed to be a full picture. Gene, Tim, and Kirk Burrows. 3 men who knew Diddy from completely different sides of his life. Tim knew the childhood and the early hustle. Kirk knew the business moves, the contracts, the money. Gene knew the streets, the violence, the security, and the situations nobody likes to talk about out loud. Together, they could have told the entire story from start to finish. No gaps, no blind spots. But according to Gene, that's when things started getting weird. He says Alex Stapleton, the director, suddenly switched up her tone. She told him the money he was asking for was insane and said the production didn't have that kind of budget. Gene didn't just argue, he showed proof. Real invoices from other documentaries that had paid him similar amounts. Receipts, numbers, history. And still, he says she brushed it off like it meant nothing. Then she said something that really stuck with him. She told Gene that 50 Cent doesn't decide what goes into the documentary. He doesn't control who gets paid either. According to her, 50's name was just being used for promotion, not creative control. That hit Gene sideways. Think about that for a second. The whole project is being sold as 50 Cent's documentary about Diddy. His long-running beef is the main selling point. That's what pulls people in. But behind the scenes, Gene says 50 doesn't actually have the final say on what stories make it in. That didn't sit right at all. Gene felt played. He's been telling these stories for years on his own platform. He says he has footage, photos, documents, and real-world experience. Yet he felt like the director treated him like he was just another guy talking. No respect, no appreciation for what he brought to the table. At the same time, Gene found out Kirk was calling Gene, pushing him to lower his price, acting like it was for the good of the group. But Gene later realized Kirk was negotiating a separate contract behind everyone's back. Industry behavior at its finest. That was the last straw. Gene didn't argue, he didn't beg, he walked away. And that, according to him, is why the documentary feels hollow, why major stories are missing, why it feels like something's off. The person who says he knew the most refused to be part of it because of how he was treated. And there's one absence viewers keep noticing. Kim Porter. Diddy's former partner, the mother of his children, passed away suddenly in 2018 at just 47 years old. Officials said it was pneumonia. But a lot of people still have questions. Kim was around for everything. The parties, the business, the private moments. And yet the documentary barely touches her story. Multiple sources claim the Kim Porter angle was intentionally avoided. Too sensitive, too risky, too controversial. But Gene says he knows more about what really happened. And that's one of the reasons tensions behind the scenes got so heavy. Gene says he knew Kim personally. He says he protected her at certain times and saw things most people never got close to. According to him, she wasn't just Diddy's ex or the mother of his kids. She was deep inside that world. And yet, in the documentary, they barely slowed down for her story. A few photos, a quick mention, then straight to the next topic like she didn't matter. For someone who played such a big role in Diddy's life, Gene says that silence feels very intentional. Now here's where things start looking funny. Diddy threw massive parties for decades. Not small get-togethers, but full-blown events packed with A-list celebrities. Actors, rappers, athletes, even politicians. Everybody knew about those parties. Everybody showed up. That was part of Diddy's power. So Gene asked a simple question. Why doesn't the documentary show any of that? No celebrity names, no real party stories, no first-hand accounts, nothing. Gene says, There's no way Diddy hosted all those wild events and not a single famous person was involved in anything questionable. That doesn't add up at all. According to Gene, the reason is money and protection. He believes certain A-list celebrities paid 50 Cent to keep their names out of the documentary. Careers, brands, families, reputations, all on the line. If their names got linked to serious allegations, it would be over for them. Gene's take is that 50 is a businessman first. He wanted to expose Sean Combs, not destroy everyone else along the way. That's why Gene says the documentary feels clean, polished, sanitized, one villain on screen, while powerful people stay protected in the shadows. And Gene sees right through it. And it's not just Gene raising eyebrows. Look at what Marlon Wayans said when someone asked him about the documentary. He said he hadn't watched it and probably wouldn't. Then he dropped a line that stuck with people. He called it a narrative. He said when you edit things together, you can make any story you want, and that people are being programmed. Now, why would Marlon say that? Is he defending Diddy, or is he low-key calling out the documentary for pushing a one-sided story? That comment alone made a lot of people stop and think. Or maybe, and this is what a lot of people quietly believe, Marlon has his own experiences with Diddy that he has no interest in revisiting. For years, there have been rumors floating around the industry linking Marlon Wayans and Sean Combs. Nothing confirmed, nothing proven, just whispers that never seem to fully disappear. So when Marlon says he refuses to watch the documentary and starts talking about narratives and people being programmed, it naturally makes people pause. It raises a bigger question. What does he know, or what did he see? Gene Deal believes there are plenty of celebrities with stories connected to Diddy, but they chose silence instead. Staying quiet was safer than being honest. According to Gene, that silence wasn't accidental. It was protection. Now let's talk about what many see as the most controversial part of the entire documentary, the behind-the-scenes footage of Diddy before his arrest. The documentary shows him inside a New York hotel room, speaking to his lawyer on speakerphone, talking strategy, reacting to media coverage, and trying to plan his next move. These were not public moments. These were private conversations. So the real question becomes simple. Where did 50 Cent get that footage? Reports say Diddy had hired a videographer to follow him during that period. Maybe he planned to release his own documentary later. Maybe he wanted a personal record of everything happening around him. Either way, someone was filming him during a very sensitive time. Here's where things get complicated. That footage belonged to Diddy. The videographer was working directly for him. There were contracts and non-disclosure agreements involved. Yet somehow the footage ended up inside a Netflix documentary produced under 50's name. Diddy's legal team reacted immediately. They sent a cease and desist to Netflix, calling the footage stolen and unauthorized and demanding the documentary be pulled. Netflix responded by saying the footage was obtained legally, but they refused to explain how. 50 has stayed silent on the source. The videographer hasn't spoken publicly either. No interviews, no statements, nothing. That leaves people guessing. One theory Gene mentions is money. He claims Diddy has a pattern of not paying people. Maybe the videographer felt burned and sold the footage. Maybe it was revenge. Or maybe someone else stepped in and made a quiet deal behind closed doors. Is that footage actually illegal? Nobody knows for sure, but Gene says it looks questionable and raises serious questions about everything else in the documentary. What Gene brings to the table is first-hand experience. He says he personally witnessed Diddy's violent behavior, and one story he tells involves protecting Misa Hilton, the mother of Diddy's first son, Justin Combs. After Gene stopped working directly for Sean Combs, Misa allegedly reached out to him for protection. She wanted to live her life, go out, move freely, but Gene says she was genuinely afraid of Diddy. According to Gene, she knew exactly what he was capable of. Gene charged her $2,250 for a few hours and told her straight up that if Diddy saw her with him, nothing would happen. In Gene's words, Diddy knew who he was and knew he wasn't intimidated. The documentary also includes a story from Eric Sermon. Eric describes a moment when he was riding in a car with Misa and Diddy allegedly pulled up and attacked her in the street. Eric says Diddy swung on her right in front of him, then tried to bait Eric into a fight around the corner. Eric chose to walk away and go listen to music instead. Gene's reaction to that story is blunt. He says if someone was under his protection and Diddy attacked them, he would have stepped in immediately no matter who it was. Gene claims this kind of behavior wasn't rare. According to him, Diddy had a long-standing reputation for violence toward women. People in the industry knew it. It wasn't a secret. It was ignored because of power and money. When the documentary showed the hotel hallway footage involving Cassie, the public reacted with shock. Gene says that reaction proves how sheltered the audience was. In his view, that incident wasn't new behavior at all. The only difference was that this time, there was video evidence that leaked. So what does Gene actually think of the documentary overall? He says he watched it carefully. He studied it. He took notes. And his verdict is cold. According to Gene, none of the stories were new to people inside the industry. The parties, the control, the manipulation, the violence, all of it was already known. The documentary just repackaged old information in a clean, mainstream way. From Gene's perspective, the only thing that truly stood out was the behind-the-scenes footage of Diddy before his arrest. Everything else, he says, was already part of the industry's open secret. Gene says the most interesting part of the entire documentary was watching Diddy talk to his lawyers, stressing over media pressure and trying to map out his next move. That footage mattered. It felt real. It showed panic and calculation at the same time. But beyond that, Gene's take is simple. You watch it once, and you're done. There's no reason to go back. Nothing hits deep enough. Nothing really shocks you if you already know how the industry works. And Gene says he knows this for a reason. He believes he could have taken that documentary to another level. He could have added depth, context, and real proof. Actual stories backed by experience and evidence. But according to him, that's not what they wanted. They wanted something safe. Something that would pull numbers on Netflix without putting powerful people at risk. Instead, the documentary puts everything on Sean Combs alone. It paints him as the only villain in the room. Gene says that version is convenient, but it's not honest. In his view, there were plenty of others who knew what was happening. People who stayed quiet, people who benefited, people who participated and walked away clean. Those names never show up. Those stories never get told. Their reputations stay protected. And that's why Gene calls the documentary incomplete. Not because it's fake, but because it stops where things get uncomfortable. One thing Gene makes very clear is that none of this started with Netflix or 50 Cent. Gene Deal has been telling these stories for years, long before cameras showed up, long before contracts and streaming deals. He's spoken on podcasts, on YouTube, on his own platforms, laying out what he says he witnessed firsthand. So now it's your turn. What part of this story shocked you the most? What do you think should have been included but wasn't? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you found it interesting. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you on the next one.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty.
Before seen footage of Sean Diddy Combs in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last September.
You want to put stuff in my fanny pack, King?
The exclusive video obtained by Netflix shows Combs debating with his lawyers about strategy.
Listen to me.
It shows you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah.
One thing you never want in this life is smoke with 50 Cent, because Curtis plays the long game like nobody else. This man treats revenge like a business plan, and he never loses focus. If you're not dropping a whole documentary on someone you can't stand, then according to him, you're not even putting in real effort. Curtis has been stacking evidence on Diddy for nearly 20 years. Quiet, patient, chilling in the shadows, like he's running some undercover mission. He wasn't rushing anything. He was simmering, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And now that moment finally landed, because 50 just dropped his Diddy documentary, and the whole situation is straight up chaos. The wildest part? 50 somehow secured footage from Diddy's final days as a free man, which feels like something out of a movie. This is
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
the moment Curtis has been gearing up for since the early mixtape grind, and you can tell he's enjoying every second like he earned this championship round. Diddy is locked up with zero control over what's being aired about him, and word is he's losing it behind those walls, yelling at his legal team, demanding answers, demanding action, demanding everything. His lawyers already scrambled out a statement saying the documentary is illegal, and they even tried pushing Netflix to yank it off the platform. Meanwhile, 50 is somewhere with a grin so wide you'd swear he rehearsed it. Curtis knows Netflix checks don't play, and whether people love him or hate him, he's a master at turning beef into business opportunities. Honestly, maybe Diddy should have skipped trying to take 50 shopping back in the day, because Curtis never let that moment slide. From that day,
we have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Strategy. Listen to me. I'm gonna get off the phone right now, and I am gonna let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what, no matter what nobody said. Let's just here and there. Y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
On, 50 kept his boots pressed on that man's reputation with zero mercy. So now 50 Cent teamed up with director Alexandria Stapleton to build a 4-part documentary series titled Sean Combs: The Reckoning. And this thing goes deep. It includes rare, never-before-seen footage of Diddy in the days just before his arrest in New York City back in September 2024. The series premiered on Netflix on December 2nd and features exclusive clips of Diddy on the phone, arguing with his lawyers about strategy, stressing about what moves they should make next, and telling them to bring in someone who knows how to navigate the dirtiest business out there. You can literally hear the tension in his voice, because deep down, Diddy knew the walls were closing in and his time was up. You can practically feel the stress pouring off the screen because Diddy was scrambling hard, throwing every move he had left at this situation like he was trying to plug holes in a sinking ship. He was shifting stories, shifting strategies, shifting energy, just desperate to find anything that might save him. Then the doc hits another moment out in Harlem, where Diddy is doing his whole man of the people act, hugging strangers, shaking hands, smiling like he's running for office. But the second he slides into the car, You're
a public person as well, and there was one instance in Harlem, and his reaction when those people
went away.
Got in
the car and said, I feel like I need to wash, like I'm dirt. That was, it show you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, what's the odds that you would do that in front of the camera? Like that's one of the moments where he forgot he was on tape.
Instantly asks for a bottle of hand sanitizer like he couldn't wait to wipe off the same people he was just embracing. And according to 50, that tiny moment exposes Diddy's whole blueprint. It's like watching a mask get put on and snatched off in real time, showing how quick he switches when the cameras aren't rolling. When 50 got asked if this entire project was just him pushing an old grudge, he shut that down and said his real goal is to show that the hip-hop community does not sign off on Diddy's behavior. And then he slid in some shade toward the industry names, staying silent like their lips are glued shut during the chaos. And honestly, Curtis isn't lying. He's not revealing some hidden truth or playing informant. Diddy already told on himself during that trial. There's nothing in this documentary that comes close to the things the world already heard in that courtroom. Diddy has already been sentenced, already locked in his reality, and no amount of editing or commentary can change that. But what 50 is exposing is the industry's selective silence. His whole point is that when everyone chooses to stay quiet, it makes it look like the culture is totally cool with that kind of predatory behavior, and that silence becomes a shield for the people who don't deserve one.
Do you think that hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that.
People can say whatever they want about 50. That he's petty, that he's dramatic, that he's always ready to spark another feud, but at least his name has never been tied to anything strange or any creepy accusations. Meanwhile, a whole lineup of rappers and moguls who spent years orbiting around Diddy are suddenly mute, and it doesn't take a detective to figure out why. They're all tangled up in their own mess or scared someone might finally shine a spotlight in their direction. And let's be real for a second. 50 can swear all day that this isn't personal. But if you know anything about Curtis, everything he touches has a personal edge to it. This man treats grudges like vintage bottles locked in a vault, letting them age until they hit their strongest point. Once you land on his bad side, there's no coming back. No apologies big enough, no handshake strong enough to fix it. But even with all that heat, he still deserves credit because he was one of the only people in the industry publicly calling out Diddy long before anyone else had the courage to speak up. So is 50 bragging now? Of course he is. But can anyone blame him when he spent years getting clowned for telling the truth? Back then, when he talked about Diddy taking men shopping, people laughed, brushed him off, called him a hater, called him obsessed. Yet look at how things flipped. A lot of the things 50 mentioned years ago ended up matching what the world eventually saw play out. So yeah, he's sitting back enjoying this moment like it's a victory lap. And honestly, who wouldn't after all that? Just look at his response when he was asked how he thinks Diddy reacted after watching the doc. Curtis didn't even need to say much because everyone knows Diddy would snap the second he heard about it. And he didn't even have to wait long because Diddy's reaction came quick. According to CNN, Diddy's lawyers already hit Netflix with a cease and desist, saying the documentary used footage that didn't belong to 50. In a statement to CNN, Diddy's spokesperson Judah Engelmeyer called the docuseries a shameful hit piece and accused Netflix of using footage that was never approved for release. And here's a wild little detail. Judah Engelmeyer used to be Harvey Weinstein's spokesperson before he linked up with Diddy. That connection alone raises eyebrows like crazy. Judah also told CNN that Diddy has been filming himself for decades to create his own documentary one day. And he claims the footage seen in 50's series was supposed to be part of Diddy's personal project. Judah said Sean had been filming his own documentary since he was 19 years old, and that the footage in question was created for that project, but Netflix wasn't sweating any of it. Their spokesperson told CNN that director Alexandra Stapleton secured everything through the proper channels, and nothing was taken illegally. Meanwhile, Diddy's team is heated, and their cease and desist letter came with all kinds of threats. His lawyers wrote, "As you are undoubtedly aware, Mr. Combs has not hesitated to take legal action against media entities and others who violate his rights." And they warned that he wouldn't hesitate to come after Netflix next. They also tried to shame Netflix for working with 50 at all, calling him a longtime enemy with a vendetta who supposedly spends too much time slandering Mr. Combs. The whole thing reads like they were typing it with smoke coming off the keyboard. Vendetta or no vendetta, 50 is enjoying every second of this spotlight like it's a victory parade. And he's still trolling Diddy on Instagram like it's a full-time job. He even posted a clip from his Good Morning America interview where they asked him about his feud with Diddy. And Curtis dropped a caption that hit like a jab from a pro fighter. He wrote, "One feud. I put 2 of his kids in my scripted TV shows. I just didn't like him. He said fruity-ish to me. I don't like that." That's classic 50, straight to the point with no sugarcoating. Meanwhile, Diddy is stressing behind those walls because there isn't anything he can do from inside. His team can send all the letters they want, but the doc is already streaming. The world is already watching, and 50 already walked away with the W. That's why he's grinning, like he just won a championship round, because in his mind, he did. Now some people are trying to call out 50, saying he should have thought about Diddy's kids and how this documentary might impact them, especially the girls. But let's keep it honest. Diddy didn't stop to think about how his behavior was affecting his own family while he was out here doing everything he was doing. And he definitely wasn't worried about anyone else's family when his actions hurt other people. If he handled things the right way from the start, he'd be at home with his kids right now instead of dealing with all this pressure. You can't throw a rock, hide your hand, and then act shocked when the truth circles back. Actions always come with consequences. And this is one of those moments where everything finally caught up. Now I want to hear what you think. Did you watch the documentary yet? Or are you waiting for the weekend to binge it? Is 50 being extra and doing too much? Or is he the only one in the industry with the guts to call things exactly how they are? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you on the next one.
I'm not going to speak bad about P. Diddy because he's still a black man. Mistakes happen. And I can't say if it is or it's not a mistake, but things happen in life.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch.
Oh,
like,
I hate you, man.
Unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm going to be with you niggas this year.
All of this comes off more funny than serious at first glance, but don't get it twisted. If this looks like just another online back and forth, it's way deeper than that. When it comes to 50 Cent, nothing is ever a one-off moment. This is long game energy, and he's been playing it for decades. For over 20 years, 50 has been moving calculated, not random. He doesn't just aim at Diddy alone, he targets anyone standing even slightly too close. Pick Diddy's side and you automatically step into 50's blast zone. No warning, no grace period, just straight pressure. One of the clearest examples is Floyd Mayweather.
I'm not going to speak bad about P. Diddy because he's still a black man. Mistakes happen, and I can't say if it is or it's not a mistake, but things happen in life. And P. Diddy business is P. Diddy business. It's not my job or anyone else's job to go on the internet and stump him and kick a man while he's down. My take on it is it's not my business. I don't think it's right at all, and I don't condone it. I would be hurt, but that's the choice that my daughter made.
He's had some questionable photos floating around, including one that raised eyebrows. And when lawsuits started piling up on Diddy and arrests followed, Floyd went public saying he didn't want to say anything negative about him. Silence, but loud silence. That was enough for 50 to snap back online. He clapped back on Instagram saying, "They didn't even ask him about this. Champions, you stupid, or is you dumb? Get me out of your head."
This is a special ASLELS challenge for you, Floyd. If you can read one full page of a Harry Potter book, nigga, I'll give $750,000 to whatever charitable organization you want to. Nice, man. I got a phone call from my man Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy said if Floyd accepts the challenge, that he'll put it on the actual show, so you can read it on the show. We don't want to put pressure on you. We know you can't pronounce those words in that Harry Potter book, so we're gonna let you read Cat in the Hat.
Then followed it up with, "You sound like a hater. Did he do it? Coming soon." That message was loud, even without Floyd saying a word. And don't think staying quiet saves you. Even just standing near Puff gets you tagged. 50 posted, "Anybody seen Jay LOL?" Puff said they ain't answering his phone LOL. But the wildest shot came when he posted that photo of Jay-Z and wrote, "Jay in hibernation. He ain't coming outside till Puff blow over. No brunch, no lunch, no dinner." Straight clowning. 50 has always roasted what he sees as fake friendship between Jay-Z and Diddy.
Mad at me because I'm supporting Diddy. Niggas got weird ass shit to say about me supporting Puff.
In an interview, he brought up the so-called billionaire brunch and pointed out how Jay-Z looked uncomfortable sitting there. In 50's eyes, that body language said everything about what was really going on. More recently, 50 Cent took things even further. He shared a savage caricature of Jay-Z online, mocking him as the old Camel Cigarettes mascot, Joe Cool.
I've never seen a freak off. What does that really mean? I mean, is that really real? Is this 50-50? Are we creating a new narrative for something that's not there? Where was it really in the baby oil? I mean, what are we doing?
The image wasn't subtle at all. It was straight up disrespectful. 50 even added, "Please stop sending me stuff like this. I'm not gonna post it," while very clearly posting it anyway. Not long after that, 50 cracked another joke, this time about a deepfake video of Jay-Z talking to Lionel Richie. He claimed that clip was basically Jay's reaction when he realized his name didn't get mentioned in the Diddy documentary at all. That jab landed hard, especially with the timing. All of this got people asking the same question. Is 50 quietly setting up a whole separate project aimed directly at Jay-Z?
Asses are being taken in ways that nobody can explain. Because I see a lot of jokes out there right now talking about baby oil. Everybody got a joke about having baby oil and lube. Is that okay? Is that the message? That was funny, fam. Now what? I don't use baby oil.
At one point, he even liked an Instagram comment where a follower straight up asked if there was an expose or documentary coming about Jay. No reply, no explanation. Just that like, and in 50 Cent language, that alone felt loud. So now people are watching the clock. And Jay isn't the only one in the crosshairs. Next up was Rick Ross, another known Diddy ally. Ross stayed quiet, said nothing. But 50 wasn't letting silence slide.
saying that people at the church doing it. So now I can't turn cheek to cheek when somebody hit me because now I'm thinking about butt cheeks. You know, it's like...
He dug up Ross's own lyrics from a 2013 track and reposted them alongside a photo of Ross and Diddy, putting the spotlight right back on him. 50 even reminded everyone that those lyrics cost Ross his deal with Reebok, saying at some point, you just have to do the right thing. Silence in his eyes wasn't an option. While Jay-Z and Rick Ross stayed quiet, Floyd Mayweather actually spoke up. And what he said had people scratching their heads. The way he worded it made many feel like he was leaning toward Diddy's side, or at least not pushing back at all. This time, Floyd Mayweather brought the whole thing on himself. Nobody even asked him about the Diddy situation. And that's exactly why 50 Cent snapped the way he did.
I'm not concerned about this nigga Curtis. I mean, this dude Curtis. You know what I'm saying? He's Uncle Tom, and that's just what it is.
In 50's eyes, Floyd jumped into a mess that wasn't calling his name. That's when 50 fired off. They didn't even ask him about this. Champ, is you stupid or is you dumb? Get me out of your head. You sound like a hater. Loud, messy, and straight to the point. A lot of 50's shots at Floyd weren't even about loyalty anymore. He kept circling back to the same insult, clowning Floyd by implying he's so clueless he can't even read. That's been 50's favorite angle for years, and he wasn't about to let it go now. Then the spotlight shifted to Ray J. Ray J has repeatedly called Sean Combs his mentor and close friend, saying Puff always inspired him.
Stay, nigga. Fuck that. Since it's entertainment, let me beat the shit out of you on TV or something. Don't duck that. I'm calling you out. What you want to do, Curtis? Curtis!
50 responded as usual, in his unmistakable humorous style, saying he was ready to fight and calling Stevie Shorty.
Go ahead with that bullshit. Come on. I hope you get past the security.
He even went as far as saying Diddy should be cleared of all charges, claiming that anything that happened between adults was consensual. He also said he doesn't even understand what people mean by these so-called freak-off parties, adding that he's never personally seen anything like that. But that interview didn't land the way Ray probably expected.
You can create any narrative as a producer and as a director. It doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. I can get interviews, I can do this, I can get footage, and I could make you think this about that person.
Nah, for sure, yeah.
And before it's between him and Puff, it's between both of them and God. Just the way Puff is down on his luck and 50's kicking a man when he's down.
God is gonna.
If 50 ever luck turn up on 50, you know, that you gotta be careful what you put out. There's a karma to every action that you do.
You think we'll see that day?
Huh?
You think we'll see that day?
I don't think 50 does dumb stuff. You know, he's very smart, you know, in terms of his business. I think he already had his...
I think we already would have saw it.
He got shot 9 times. He paid his debt early. So that's why he's like, F it.
50 jumped online laughing, posting, "Oh my God, WTF is Ray J doing LOL. Dude really going crazy out here. Straight ridicule, no filter." Then 50 doubled back and said, "Oh, now I see why they was gonna pack Ray J out. He wildin', bro. It feel like he's saying this cause he down bad. I'ma hit Ray and tell him chill, LOL." That comment was a reference to a past situation where Puff's sons reportedly had a confrontation with Ray J at a party. Ray later said there was no fight, just tension. But 50 clearly wasn't buying the calm version. And from there, things only escalated. Because now we move to the people who openly and aggressively backed Diddy. First on that list is Stevie J, a longtime producer and former Bad Boy Records affiliate, who stepped up in spring 2024 to publicly defend his former boss. During one of the raids, Stevie J was actually inside Sean Combs' Miami house. He later described the whole thing as over-the-top and dramatic. In an interview with Fox 5 New York, Stevie straight up claimed all the accusations were fake and insisted that, in his words, Diddy has never broken the law. No hesitation, no doubt, just full defense mode. Stevie didn't stop there. He went after 50 Cent directly, calling him an Uncle Tom and accusing him of turning on his own people just for publicly mocking Diddy's legal troubles online. That line crossed a boundary instantly. 50, of course, wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back in classic fashion, saying, "Diddy's boyfriend called me a sellout. He is correct. I'm selling out Branson Cognac. LOL. Cold, sarcastic, and straight to business." Stevie was so heated by that response that he even said he was ready to fight 50 in real life. This all popped off right after Rodney Jones Jr., also known as Little Rod, filed a lawsuit claiming Diddy allegedly forced him to hire workers and take part in inappropriate activities. Stevie J's name came up in that lawsuit too, which made things even messier. 50 reacted instantly, posting a screenshot of the headline with the caption, "Whoa, say it ain't so. Stevie J WTF? No mercy at all." From there, Diddy's close friend fired back hard, saying he was ready to handle 50 in person. And 50 responded the only way he knows how, joking that he was ready to fight and clowning Stevie by calling him Shorty. Same smoke, different angle, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get louder, a new feud popped up. This time with actor Marlon Wayans, a longtime friend of Diddy who's been spotted at his parties for years. When asked about the documentary, Marlon said karma was waiting on 50. That comment instantly put him on 50's radar. And just like that, 50 found himself a brand new target. His first move, posting a hilarious AI video to kick things off. Then 50 Cent really took it there. He posted an image of Marlon Wayans edited into a wild scene, sitting in a pit of colorful plastic balls, wrapped in a pride flag. The caption read, "Did he got this fool trying to get in me? LOL. No AI, that boy. Keep my name out of your mouth." Pure trolling. No hesitation. No filter. Right after that, he doubled down. Another post went up showing Marlon blowing kisses toward Diddy, and 50 made sure everyone caught the joke. He wasn't debating, he was embarrassing. And that was the whole point. Eventually, Fifth jokingly announced the beef was officially over, case closed. But of course, he ended it his way. He posted a short clip from the classic movie Friday, swapping faces like only 50 would dare. Marlon's face got slapped onto the awkward character Red, originally played by DJ Pooh, while 50 placed himself as Debo, the massive, feared antagonist everybody was scared of. The power dynamic was loud without saying much. "I'm not beefing with Marlon no more. He not funny, and I'm starting to think he a moog for real. No more about him," 50 wrote in the caption. Straight dismissal, straight disrespect, wrapped in humor. And just like that, he moved on to the next moment, leaving chaos behind him like always. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to comment your thoughts, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs the full story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
I kind of like Diddy.
Cause I'm getting to this. Yo, boss. Yo, man, yo, how 50 get? Blah, blah, blah. Yo, Puff, take this self doing that. Let me explain something to y'all. All right, whether it's NDAs, whether it's whatever. When these young boys come in, first of all, he only deal with young videographers because he want to rob them, and he know that they want the opportunity to follow Puff Daddy, P Diddy. They want that opportunity, so they get him at a low price anyway. But when you stay out so many hours a day, Puff wants a videographer with him 24 hours a day on call. Whether we on a yacht, whether we on a ship, wherever we at.
After that explosive documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning dropped. Put together by 50 Cent and Eric, Suge Combs and his whole squad had been moving like wild trying to wipe it off the map. That film dug up truths people whispered about for years and exposed the monster-like moves Suge pulled behind the scenes, slithering through the industry like a snake. And everybody kept asking the same thing. How did 50 even get the secret clips Suge never wanted the world to see? Well, Roger Bonds, Suge's old security guard, finally spilled the whole story like it was nothing. So picture this, 50 is chilling at Club 11 in Miami, minding his business, when he gets a surprise package.
He wants to videotape that, right? So now, they come to agreement. They come to whatever the pay is going to be. But then it'd be so many hours on that invoice that he don't want to pay. He gets in touch with the office. He gets in touch with the chief of staff. Yo, what is this I'm paying? What is this I'm paying? You know what you paying. You was outside all of these hours. It's 160 something hours in a week. You was outside 140. That's the invoice he put in.
And it wasn't fan mail. It was a straight-up warning. If you know what pushing up daisies means, then you already know that message was dark. Even locked up, Suge is still trying to flex his power like he's untouchable. What's wild is Suge didn't clap back when 50 joked about him trying to take him shopping and acting like he was low-key flirting.
So now, being if you got a contract and he don't stand to that contract, guess what happens? He could do whatever he want to do with that footage. So now that footage goes to the highest bidder. And 50 had to be the highest bidder to get there. Yo, this is business. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't in love with you. Everybody ain't dedicated. Everybody ain't loyal to the point of stupidity. Trust me.
But once that documentary dropped, that crossed the line for him. Suddenly, 50 gets a bouquet of daisies, which everybody knew meant, you're marked now. That's some chilling energy. 50 even posted, what kind of ish is this? Suge sent flowers to me at Club 11 LOL. Why all the foreplay? Get busy. You know I'm stupid. Then he followed up with, a warning? I'm 90s Grammy. You don't warn me, LOL.
Trigger man.
Hey, how you doing? So, here today about this latest lawsuit with the P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Sean Puffy Combs, whatever you want to call him. Lawsuit that has come out involving the producer Lil Rod. So basically his last two lawsuits, or last two major lawsuits, the one with Cassie, she made mention that Puffy made her carry his guns into nightclubs and wherever they went. And he threatened her to make her feel like she had to do so. And while there were lots of things of importance, that stood out to me. And I'm going to tell you why.
He was clowning, but everybody knew the message behind those flowers was serious. And let's be real, Suge isn't new to silencing people. There are real stories, real victims, and a whole trail of violence tied back to him. Homeland Security agents already found tapes, recordings, electronics full of incriminating info in his LA and Miami homes. And the feds are digging into a whole list of shootings that connect straight to him.
In this lawsuit with the producer Lil Rod, they were both SA'd by him and threatened and physically harmed. But in this lawsuit, he appears to be a very young producer to me. But he said something very specific. As a means of threatening him, Puffy said, that's why I shot up the club in New York back in 1999 and let Shine take the fall for it. Let me tell you why that's of utmost importance to me. Because I am the woman who he shot in the face in that 1999, December 27th, 1999, Club New York shooting.
A lot of this stuff got buried for years, swept clean like it never happened, but a quick search will give you more than enough proof. These Suge-related shootings go way deeper than people think. Now let's get into one of the most recent ones. This went down in a Los Angeles studio and involved his son Justin, who people online been calling the devil's offspring. Producer Lil Rod, who's already suing Suge, is doubling down hard. He says Suge and Justin were involved in a shooting at that studio back in 2022. And that's on top of the harassment accusations he already put out there.
I have told everyone ad nauseum since then, even the surgeon who did the surgery to take the bullet. I got shot in my face with a 9mm hollow point bullet called a cop killer. I literally have told everyone and never changed what I said. I watched him. I got pow-powed in the face. I watched him fire the gun. I've said it all this time. Even the surgeon who did my surgery to take out part of the bullet fragments that was aspirating into my lungs and try to remove as many bullet fragments as possible, testified in the criminal trial that while they were putting me under, I was screaming.
This whole situation has been blowing up online nonstop. Back on February 26th, Rodney Little Rod Jones, who worked as a producer on Suge Combs' latest album, filed a lawsuit claiming Suge harassed him, stunned him, and threatened him while Lil Rod was traveling and living around him from September 2022 all the way through November 2023. This wasn't some small claim either. He filed it in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, so you know it's serious. In that paperwork, Lil Rod also exposed a shooting that went down at a producer camp at Chalice Recording Studio in L.A. on September 12th, 2022. And he didn't stop there. He said Suge's son Justin was present, along with Justin's friend listed as G in the court filings. The whole thing sounds messy from every angle.
Puffy pew me in the face. He testified in the criminal trial. It is in the record. They all knew he did it. Everybody knew he did it. But he paid off the club bouncer named Sharice and all these other people and the club owners with their video to hide the video. That's his MO. I told everybody that. This man almost took my life, has traumatized my life, has caused undue harm, irreparable damage to my life, lied his behind off. I've had all these youngins on the internet harassing me.
The lawsuit even accuses Suge of being part of a full-blown RICO enterprise, saying he and others were involved in a trafficking setup. A RICO case means the government thinks a group is basically acting like an organized crime ring, moving together, covering for each other, breaking laws in a coordinated way. That's a huge accusation and not something prosecutors take lightly at all. And this is just the newest addition to Suge's growing list of legal disasters. He's already facing multiple cases involving assault and all kinds of disturbing allegations. It's like every month another story pops out. According to Lil Rod's complaint, he heard several gunshots after a heated argument popped off inside a nearby bathroom at the studio. When that bathroom door swung open, Suge and his son walked out casually,
swearing that I'm making it up that he did it. And look what he did to Lil Rod. He threatened him. Oh, you don't think I bust my gun? I shot up the club in Club New York and let Shine take the fall for it. I shot them people. Well. It only took 24 whole years for it to come out. You see this tattoo? This commemorates me getting shot. It took 24 years for him to come out and say it. I've been saying it all along, but y'all pick and choose who y'all want to believe. Oh, baby.
While G was on the floor curled up, grabbing his stomach, bleeding from his leg and hip area. That image alone is wild. Lil Rod says he picked the guy up and carried him to the front of the studio where an ambulance was already waiting outside. But the LA Fire Department still hasn't responded to requests for more details about what really happened that day, which makes things feel even sketchier. But here's the part that really hits. Lil Rod claims Suge told him straight up to lie to the police. He says Suge pressured him to say that neither he nor Justin had anything to do with the shooting, and that G got hit outside the studio instead. That's a major accusation, and if true, it could bring even more heat down on Suge's whole camp. Lil Rod isn't backing down at all. He's doubling down and saying straight up that G was not hit by some drive-by attacker outside. He insists the shooting happened inside the bathroom at Chalice Recording Studio, no matter what story people are trying to push.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Not only did he pew me in the face, he also set off a course of harassment against me for the past 24 years. When I tell you the things I went through, there was a time in 2017 and 2018 where I got 7 flats on my BMW. 7, the same tire, in a 2-year span. 7 on the same tire, and they were all new. Every time it happened, I had to get a new tire. I have the pictures to prove it. Harassing me. You want to know why? Because prior to Cassie, I was the only person to be victimized by him and then to successfully sue him and get paid. And he had to pay me out of his pocket. He has never gotten over that. Oh, baby.
And here's where it gets even sketchier. Chalice Studio has been quiet as a mouse about the whole situation. which has people whispering that Suge might have greased some palms to keep everybody silent. NBC News tried to get a statement from the studio, and what they got back was real questionable. Somebody, name not even given, claimed the shooting happened half a block away from the studio and was the result of a robbery. Then they added that police reports supposedly back up their side and asked everyone to wait for the facts before damaging the studio's reputation. That whole energy felt defensive and suspicious. Chalice also said that when LAPD arrived, they determined conclusively that the shooting didn't happen inside. But the complaint paints a completely different picture.
You see this RICO charge that's about to come? This conspiring and pew-pewing up the club and ruining or attempting to ruin my life? As God as my witness, I will not stop until you suffer every single iota of punishment, until I have every second of recompense that you took from me. For every tear that I had to cry or my children had to cry, I am going to get $1 million back from you. I will not stop until you pay the price for what you did to my life. And for all you people out there on the internet and in cyberspace and in the far reaches of my life or the perimeters or wherever who always like, oh, she just saying that to get some. Hell, what you got to say now? What you got to say now?
It even references a media story saying G came to the studio after he was shot. Meanwhile, Little Rod's filing says officers were literally inside the studio and saw blood in the bathroom, yet still went along with the story that the shooting went down outside. That sounds shady as hell. The original filing includes screenshots showing what looked like the bathroom aftermath, reportedly where G was wounded, whether by Suge or Justin. And Little Rod says he still has the same clothes he wore that day, claiming they might even contain DNA from the victim. That's a bold piece of evidence to hold on to. According to the documents, Suge and Justin weren't around when the cops actually arrived. The allegation is that they dipped into another studio and stayed low while police looked around. And then, they were the first ones to sneak out once officers left. That's the kind of detail that makes the whole thing feel even more grimy.
I had some youngins on the internet that ain't even old enough, that weren't even alive when it happened, arguing me down, cussing me out, calling me everything but a child of God. Go check Instagram, it's there. Harassing my life. Harassing me. Oh, you lying, he ain't do that to you. You just want clout. You just chasing clout. What is that to chase clout about? How is that clout chase worthy? It doesn't even make sense. Well, I guess it would make sense in this new generation, but you better believe I will have my say. I will have my say. Hashtag having my say. Hashtag the dopest nerd ever. Hashtag Eb Talks. Y'all ain't seen or heard nothing yet.
And get this, representatives for Justin Combs responded on February 27th. Justin's reps wasted no time denying everything in that complaint. They called the accusations absurd and lies and warned there would be legal consequences for anybody spreading defamatory claims about the Combs family. Classic lawyer talk. They always act like their client is innocent no matter what the story looks like. But let's take it back to 1999, because Suge's history with violent incidents didn't start yesterday. On December 27th, 1999, Suge, back then known as Puffy, was out in a New York City club with his girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, celebrating the upcoming album by his young artist Shine, real name Jamal Barrow. They were in Midtown, having a good night, until things flipped fast. As they were leaving, Suge was holding a champagne bottle and bumped into another club goer, knocking a drink out of the man's hand. That man was Matthew Allen, a street dude known as Scar. Scar shoved Suge, tensions rose instantly, and before anybody could chill things out, one of Scar's homies allegedly threw a stack of money in Suge's face. Moments later, shots rang out. 3 people ended up hit. Chaos everywhere. Suge and J-Lo dipped out immediately, jumping into a Lincoln Navigator with a gun sitting in the trunk. Police caught up, arrested both of them on the spot, but Jennifer was cleared quick. She wasn't involved and everybody knew it. But witnesses told police they saw Suge with the gun in his hand. And then it gets even crazier. His driver told investigators that Suge bribed him to take the blame for the weapon. Still, with his legal dream team, including Johnny Cochran, they managed to create enough confusion that Suge walked free. One attorney even pulled the dramatic card in court saying, "I don't know if you know this, Judge, but this person, Jennifer Lopez, is a very famous actress. To think Mr. Combs is walking around with her with a loaded gun is so ridiculous it stretches the imagination." That was their angle, and somehow it worked. But Shine, he took the fall. He served nearly 9 years for assault, gun possession, and reckless endangerment. And he did those years bitter, saying Suge sold him out to save himself. This whole saga shows how long these patterns have been around. After Suge beat that case, he tried to reinvent himself by switching his name to P. Diddy, hoping the new title would wash away the chaos and dodge any payback coming his way. But things didn't calm down. Matthew Allen, the man involved in that nightclub altercation, ended up getting shot to end at Footlights, a Brooklyn spot known in the streets. Shine, meanwhile, embraced Judaism while locked up, changed his name to Moses Michael Levi, and eventually settled his issues with Suge. They were even spotted together at Paris Fashion Week, sitting at the Kenzo and Ente shows like everything was cool again. But here's where it gets heavy. One of the victims from that shooting later came forward and straight up named Suge as the one who fired the weapon that night. That claim reopened old wounds and made a lot of people rethink the whole story. And now, with everything unfolding today, it's starting to look like Suge might really be capable of sending a hit toward 50. He already sent that warning bouquet, basically saying, "I can reach you wherever you are." That message wasn't soft at all. It was bold, calculated, and icy. And you can tell Suge was showing his reach, letting 50 know this situation isn't a joke. 50 might be shaken, or he might be so wild that he doesn't even care. He's got power, money, and influence too. So this might turn into one serious clash between two heavy hitters. With that documentary out now, things are definitely heating up. And if you haven't watched it yet, go check it out on Netflix. It's packed with details that make everything even crazier. But I want to hear what y'all think. How do you feel about Suge sending that old school gangster style message to 50? Sending daisies of all things. He could have sent a note, a call, anything. But he chose flowers that basically say, "You're marked." That's bold. So drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video to keep this conversation going. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. If you want more content, hit the video on screen and keep watching.
Actually turned up. It's 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. It's 4 parts, 4 hours long, and it's a walk through Diddy's.
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark.
50 Cent just dropped one of the most explosive documentaries of 2025, and it shook everything up fast. Diddy. The Making of a Bad Boy hit Netflix in early December and instantly set the internet on fire. The footage was raw, the accusations were heavy, and with Sean Combs sitting in a Brooklyn jail cell waiting on trial, the timing felt way too perfect to be random. But here's where things get real crazy. Netflix didn't show everything. Some stories were way too dirty, some witnesses were labeled too risky, and some allegations didn't even surface until the moment the documentary went live.
They're having the times of their lives, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose. You ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy.
People started asking questions immediately, especially about certain names that were barely mentioned, or not mentioned at all. So today, we're digging into the scenes that never made the cut. The moments that raised red flags Netflix clearly didn't want to touch. And the connections that make this whole story even messier than it already was. Now let's rewind the clock. March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles. The notorious B.I.G. had already gone from Brooklyn hustler to rap royalty, but the city he walked into was boiling with tension. Tupac had been slayed just 6 months earlier. Rumors were flying. Whispers were everywhere.
Has been working on this documentary for almost 2 years. The footage he has is insane. The people he got speaking about Diddy is ridiculous.
Nutting on his nipples.
I didn't hear the nut on the nipples.
50 was not about to put
They
that
did not talk about the nut on nipples, but they do have jurors in there that
He
talk
should have
about.
put that after the sanitizer part.
And everybody in hip-hop knew LA was not a safe place at that moment. Biggie was in town pushing life after death, moving non-stop with interviews, appearances, and industry pressure stacking up. That night, despite all the warnings, he showed up at a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Some say it was ego, others say it was business. But either way, he pulled up.
Today, this morning in Los Angeles, the 24-year-old rapper whose real name is Christopher Wallace lived in Raleigh in the 1980s.
FBI agents are looking for a man they say could. Both communities are mourning the death of the rapper known as Notorious B.I.G.
Trapped in a hotel. It was about probably like 70 or so bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
Then everything went left. On the ride back to the hotel, his SUV got hit at Wilshire and South Fairfax. 4 shots rang out. 1 was fatal. Biggie was gone before the city could even breathe. Another legend erased. Another chapter of the East Coast-West Coast battle written in blood. But here's the part Netflix skipped over completely. There was a side story that same night involving Maze. And that's where things start getting uncomfortable.
Mace, we went and got him and let him meet some black hands. We went and got Mace. Mace came down, went to his car, and he got
Artist of sexual assault when she was 13.
While the Notorious B.I.G.'s passing was splashed all over headlines, there was another situation unfolding that night that barely anyone talked about. Mace was allegedly locked down inside a hotel, surrounded by roughly 70 bloods. No exaggeration at all. He wasn't moving, couldn't step outside, and people close to the situation whispered that he might have been seen as a secondary target. And the reason people whispered like that was wild. Mace was rumored to have receipts, information tied to the inner workings of the Bad Boy Records camp.
Jay-Z denying any wrongdoing, Jay-Z calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling.
What's that? That's Mauve King?
It's feeling marvelous.
You gotta get the shoes though. Y'all know what it is.
That certain people never wanted exposed. That night, nobody came checking for him. Nobody from the crew showed up, and it quickly turned into every man for himself. Eventually, a former Bad Boy security guard, Gene Deal, had to cut through the chaos just to get Mace out safely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. Very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying,
that moment taught him something cold. Loyalty can vanish overnight. Years later, Mace finally spoke on that night in LA. He hinted at the tension, the fear, the confusion, and the things he witnessed behind closed doors. He never laid everything out, but he made it clear there were truths Netflix didn't even attempt to touch. Stories about power moves, silent pressure, and loyalty cracking inside the Bad Boy empire. And if that wasn't heavy enough, things got even crazier fast. Just one day after the documentary went live, hip-hop got rocked again.
8 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
On December 8th, 2024, a lawsuit resurfaced that instantly grabbed attention and threatened to reshape the entire conversation around the documentary. A woman, identified publicly only as Jane Doe, amended an existing legal case involving Sean Combs and added Jay-Z to the filing. The claims were serious allegations connected to events allegedly tied to the year 2000, and it immediately sent shockwaves through the culture. This wasn't some small rumor. 2 of the biggest names in hip-hop were suddenly tied to a legal filing that stunned people, and the timing was unreal. The documentary dropped just one day before this hit the headlines. If this surfaced even a week earlier, the entire Netflix narrative would have looked completely different. Jay-Z responded fast and didn't hold back at all. He publicly dismissed the allegations, calling them idiotic and accused attorney Tony Busby of trying to pressure high-profile figures for attention and leverage. Jay-Z made it clear he believed the claims were pure theatrics, nothing more than noise meant to grab headlines. Meanwhile, Sean Combs has long referred to Jay-Z as his brother. In hip-hop, that word carries weight. It signals loyalty, shared history, and deep ties built over decades of business, music, and power moves. Two giants linked by influence, legacy records, and an empire mindset that shaped the industry as people know it today. But here's the real point that keeps getting missed. This was never about declaring guilt or innocence. It's about scale. This story was massive, explosive, and culture-shaking, yet it didn't make the final cut of the documentary at all. Netflix clearly played it safe, and that decision changed how viewers understood everything. Busby wasn't new to filing high-profile cases connected to Diddy. He had already been linked to multiple controversial filings, so when Jay-Z's name appeared, it felt less like coincidence and more like escalation. A strategic move that the documentary never had time to react to. Literally one day after the doc went live, the entire narrative flipped overnight. That's the kind of twist that makes you pause and question how much of the real drama ever reaches the screen. The dangerous parts, the messy parts, the behind-closed-doors chaos that doesn't fit neatly into a streaming runtime. And just like that, the Netflix version of Diddy's empire was missing one of its most volatile chapters. The sudden shift involving Jay-Z, Diddy, and a Jane Doe filing rewrote the conversation instantly, but viewers never saw it coming. And that wasn't the only missing piece either. Another name never fully explored was Kim Porter. Her story didn't make it into the documentary, yet her presence runs straight through the entire Bad Boy universe. Kim Porter wasn't just Diddy's former partner. She was the mother of his children, a constant figure in his life for decades, and someone who saw the empire from the inside out. Her sudden passing on November 15, 2018, officially ruled as pneumonia, raised quiet questions for many close to the situation. Her final days were described as unusual by those around her, and the deeper context surrounding her life and role makes it clear why Netflix may have avoided that chapter entirely. Some stories carry too much weight to be handled lightly, and Kim Porter's is one of them. Weeks before her passing, Kim Porter made a public appearance that now feels unsettling in hindsight. She attended a Hollywood premiere alongside Sean Combs, the Netflix premiere of The Holiday Calendar, a film starring her son Quincy Brown. Reports at the time said Kim wasn't feeling well at all. She was dealing with flu-like symptoms and a high fever, but she still showed up anyway. Cameras flashed, lights popped, and everything was framed as a picture-perfect family moment. Quincy front and center, the twin daughters on each side, Diddy leading the frame, and Kim standing there with what many later described as a forced smile. She pushed through it, but it was obvious her health wasn't right. Behind the scenes, there were also quiet conversations happening. Kim had reportedly been thinking about writing a book. Friends said it was meant to be about raising grounded kids in Hollywood, navigating fame, and protecting family values. But fans couldn't help speculating that she may have seen things during her years in the industry that others wouldn't want discussed publicly. Her relationship with Diddy had always been complicated. They met in 1994, welcomed their first child in 1998, split during his highly publicized relationship with Jennifer Lopez, later reconciled, had twins in 2003, and eventually separated again in 2007. Despite everything, they continued co-parenting, and Kim remained a central figure in the family dynamic. There were also past moments of tension that added weight to the story. During a period when Kim was seeing Shakir Stewart, reports at the time described a volatile atmosphere between everyone involved. Stewart later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, officially ruled a suicide, though rumors and unanswered questions lingered in public discussion for years. None of that history made it into the documentary. In her final days, Kim's focus stayed on her children. While recovering, she sent them to Diddy's home so they'd be cared for. Just 3 days before she passed, she reportedly told him to take care of the kids, a moment that still sticks with people close to the family. And while Kim Porter's story was quietly left out, another key figure kept speaking up. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has spent years sharing what he calls the unseen side of the Bad Boy empire. He worked closely with Diddy during the height of Bad Boy Records, back when the notorious B.I.G. was still alive. Gene has talked openly about late-night parties, business moves, loyalty shifts, betrayals, and secrets tied to power and fame. It's a version of the story that never made it into 50 Cent's Netflix documentary. And when you line up all these missing pieces, it becomes clear why certain chapters stayed off screen. Gene Deal has done interviews pulling millions of views. He's popped up on non-stop podcasts, including Anything Goes, and teamed up with other insiders to talk about the strangest corners of the music industry. We're talking hidden spaces, secret meetings, and alleged ritual behavior that most people aren't ready to process. But here's what really jumps out. Watch 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, and one thing becomes impossible to ignore. Gene Deal is completely missing. Not a clip, not a soundbite, not even a passing mention. And that silence feels loud. Why? Because Gene's stories go way beyond gossip. He's not just repeating rumors. He talks about alleged rituals and moments that don't fit clean narratives or easy explanations. Stuff that makes platforms nervous. His most talked about story dates back to 1999, right before Sean Combs faced his nightclub shooting trial. According to Gene, Diddy was terrified of being convicted. So terrified that he allegedly took Gene to Central Park to meet a mysterious man who performed rituals. What Gene describes sounds unreal. He claims Diddy dropped to his knees. The man burned substances that produced smoke, waved it around, and then brought out a caged white bird. Gene says the man instructed Diddy to take part in a ritual meant to protect him from conviction. After that, they allegedly went straight to court for the verdict. And here's the thing, Gene has told this same story for years. Same details, same location in Central Park, same clothes, same time of day. He never switches it up. He doesn't come off like someone chasing clicks. He sounds like a man who witnessed something that still messes with his head. So why did Netflix skip it? Because how do you fact-check an alleged ritual in Central Park from 25 years ago? You can't. And that's exactly the problem. Gene's stories are controversial, hard to verify, too strange, too dark for a mainstream platform trying to stay protected. But here's the twist. Millions of people have already heard him online. They've watched, listened, and formed their own opinions. These stories are already out there. And Gene wasn't just some random guy. He worked closely with Diddy for years. He saw the highs, the crashes, the loyalty, the fear, and the power plays behind the bad boy empire. For Netflix, some stories are just too risky to touch, too explosive, too uncomfortable. And that's why this chapter never made it into the documentary. Even though it's been replayed millions of times online, it remains the ultimate deleted scene. The behind-the-scenes truth that exists only in interviews, whispers, and long memories. And while Kim Porter's story was quietly left on the cutting room floor and Gene Deal's Central Park claims never made it near the screen, there's another file Netflix clearly didn't want to touch at all. And this one shook people the hardest. Justin Bieber. Yes, that Justin Bieber. And if you thought 50 Cent's documentary was already explosive, this takes things into a whole different zone. Back in November 2009, Bieber was just 15 years old. He was still a kid from Canada, freshly discovered off YouTube, singing in his bedroom, dreaming big, and brand new to the industry. Around that time, Sean Combs uploaded a video titled Justin Bieber. 4 hours with Diddy to his official YouTube channel. On the surface, it looked like a flashy celebrity moment. Diddy joked that he had custody of Bieber for 48 hours, calling it a teenager's dream and hyping up an unforgettable experience. But then he said something that immediately raised eyebrows. He openly told the camera that where they were going and what they were doing couldn't really be disclosed. Pause on that for a second. A 15-year-old artist, brand new to fame, being publicly told that details of his time with one of the most powerful men in music couldn't be shared. That wasn't mentorship language. That was vague in a way that made people uncomfortable. At the time, nobody questioned it much. Bieber was smiling, the industry clapped, and the clip faded into the background. But years later, it hits very differently. Diddy spoke about Bieber like a prized discovery, almost like a trophy, and that power imbalance is impossible to ignore now. Fast forward to 2024. After Diddy's arrest, people went digging through old footage, and that video resurfaced everywhere. Comment sections exploded. Viewers described it as unsettling, uncomfortable, and disturbing. Some said it felt less like a celebrity hangout and more like something that didn't sit right at all. Then in May 2025, Bieber's team finally addressed the situation. His representative stated that Justin himself was not identifying as a victim of Diddy. But at the same time, the statement acknowledged that there were individuals who were genuinely harmed. That careful wording stopped people in their tracks. Bieber wasn't accusing anyone, but he wasn't dismissing harm either, and that only raised more questions. What really happened during those 48 hours? Why was nothing disclosed? And why did Netflix completely avoid this chapter altogether? Some stories don't just fade with time, they linger. And this one still leaves people uneasy, unanswered, and wondering why it never made it into the documentary at all. Why did that video feel uncomfortable enough that it required a public statement years later? Netflix avoided it completely. Maybe because Justin Bieber stated he was not a victim. Maybe because speculation around it opens legal and ethical landmines. But the reality is simple. That footage is now some of the most replayed Sean Combs content online, and it is nowhere to be found in 50 Cent's documentary. And that leads straight into another story Netflix barely brushed against. Usher. What happened during his early years around Diddy is one of the most unsettling chapters from that era.